My lady, you have received the Glemon blade and the oaths of your retainers. But today, you face perhaps your first real challenge. And such a thing will set the scene for what it will mean for you to be a lady in this land. A real coming of age. And Yosef, having paused in the forest on the way to the fortress in which they're going to meet the squatting outlaws and who knows what else what other dark secrets. They've paused in the forest before they got there, and Yosef has approached the young lady, a humble bowl, glazed clay in his hand, in which some water shimmers, some silver particles shimmering within it. As a coming of age, when we take our own fate in our hands and are willing to accept these consequences, I would give you a blessing of old. When our people were delivered out of the south by the Savior, and in the deserts they thirsted, the Savior shared of his cup, so that 1,000 thousands were quenched. He gave such a blessing. And here, he draws his sword in his right hand and dips the pommel in the blade and touches it to the lady's right hand. Gave it. They had strength in their right hand. And again, dips the pommel, touches it to her left hand. And their left was just, touches the pommel to her forehead so that they could see clear. And then again, to her hair, to her cloak, it's a trailing motion that goes over the head and down the back briefly, that so they may carry the wisdom of ages to be woven to song and history for their children's children. And then stepping back, he would look at the young lady that he remembers when she was younger, quite always adventurous and high-spirited, but with a ready laugh, and perhaps the heaviness of the day and the task that they're about. He sees the strength of her character and smiles and says, "When was it, lady, you became so fierce?"
I don't know, she lies.
Yeah, so this ritual he's just done is the ceremony spell, coming of age. And for the next 24 hours, whenever the target makes an ability check, you can roll a d4 and add the number to the ability check. You can benefit from this right only once. Well, shall we be about it? is no easy burden. But I think you have left behind your childhood some time ago, but it is quite another to take up the yoke of adulthood, let alone to be a lord or a lady of the land. And he would give a small bow and step back again. Would you lead us onward?
I would, my thanks, Yosef. By the grace of the Saviour and by the wise counsel of my retinue, I hope that I might succeed in this.
As the group readies itself to move out from the border guard camp further away to the ruins. The group of you, alongside the now 10 border guard soldiers and Eckert, who have joined you alongside to reclaim this ruins. Um, as the final preparations are done, Ammon, you've just seen on the edge of your vision this ceremony that Yosef has done as you're preparing yourself in the morning.
Yeah. Ammon would be like concerned about this pit more than anything. And so whatever Yosef is doing, whatever like primitive Simeon ritual it is, it probably helps in some way, he thinks. But he'll like focus on trying to do something that will really help. And so he'll just like go through the usual sort of morning routine of like casting protective spells on the lady, non-detection, and things like that, in the hopes that it will help in the whatever follows. He's displeased that we are going to negotiate with these people. Seems insane to him when we could simply eradicate them. They're obviously criminals, and so should be put down. But the lady is soft. It's the curse of much of humanity. And he does what he's told because he has to.
And if you could, given your long life and far travels, roll me a history check about this place. If anyone's going to have any of the story as to how the ruins have gotten to where they are, I think it would be you.
Okie dokie. It's really good. My history is +9. 27.
That's pretty good. So you would have heard most of the stories just start and end about the ruins with the plague that it fell under. That it was a thriving castle, and then suddenly a great plague struck it, eradicating most of the people there, sending the rest to flee away from it in hopes that it wouldn't catch them too. And that's where most of the stories end. But what most of them are missing is the beginning. And there's little knowledge total about it, so the details and the accuracy even is hard to gauge. It's almost like more myth than history. But you remember a story that one of the other elves told you, and you're not sure if they were serious or if they even believed it or if you believed it or not. That there was a man, one of the descendants of the disciples, who was there, who was so compassionate to the other humans that he took on illnesses and diseases from them that they could not carry and that he could not cure, like these strange, exotic infections that would plague them. And the more of them that he took on, the more it began to like alter his character and shift him until eventually, like he succumbed to the diseases of like all these afflicted people who had traveled far and wide to gather information and to seek his help. Uh, and that the rumors say that his like festering corpse is what unleashed the plague. When he finally died, everything that he had took upon from the others had like spread out uh, through the castle, like finally unleashed from their host, and that's like what caused the infection. Though you're not sure if it's like a story or if that actually happened.
Yeah, he would like open his eyes and be back where he was. He had like traveled back to exactly how he had heard that story word for word. And he would think like, I guess there'd be a shiver of fear because it's one of the things that can kill him. Sickness, disease. His physiology is different to an ape's, but not different enough that their sickness can't affect him. And so he would be concerned at the thought of venturing into this place. But he's seen that the outlaws seem to dwell there without any terrible sickness racking them. But even so, he would keep it in mind, and he might even try and find Yosef and talk to him about it. Like maybe when the ritual stops, Ammon like steps out from, as if from nowhere. He moves strangely quietly. Exemplar, may I have a word?
Of course, I'm on. And I think Yosef's checking over his armor and adjusting buckles and such as you talk.
There was a sickness came over this place in ancient times. So it's said. One of the disciples dwelled here, sicknesses of others. That the plague that was unleashed is what destroyed this place. My abilities are not well suited to fighting against sickness. If something presents itself, there's something that dwells within that pit and that gives me pause. If something presents itself, we need to leave quickly. We need to protect the lady. We should not tarry. Because if this sickness is real, if it lingers there still, maybe the death of all of us.
What is it, Ammon, that you saw that gives you such fear? What is this pit you speak of?
I sensed something there. A darkness. Difficult to explain.
So he would turn to his horse and make sure the girth is tight. Probably the head of his horse, Constant, wheels around quickly to give him a little nip. We're trying to make it too tight. Pushes the head back away and then turns to Ammon. If there is darkness, then it must be purged. So we shall face it.
You and your order have certain advantages that others do not. Sickness will not harm you the way it will harm Our Lady, the way that it would harm me.
What's this, Ammon? Admitting a lack of perfection.
I have never seen you sniffle the way that the others do. There is magic that I cannot summon.
Of course, I shall do all that I can and protect you and the lady both. If there is this pit, what of the outlaws and the bandits? How do they live close by it and survive still?
Unclear.
Well, and I think he'd put his foot in the stirrup and pull himself up. to the horse, heavily in all his armor. Well, let's just find out, shall we?
And we'll just incline its head and move away.
As the group begins to move away from the encampment, from the edges, and the journey proper will begin to the old dead ruins. Victyria, is there anybody specifically that you would like to make sure does not come along or does come along, knowing that there's potential for conflict?
Yeah, I think we discussed this last time. I think foolishly she'll take everyone, like the old
Okay.
lady, the girls, everything. I want to appear like benevolent and like supportive to the people, not conquering those that are in reserve. But I would like to take everyone. Also, she's paranoid about having what's left of her small house separated, and like achieving here to come back and find something's gone amiss with them. I think she'd rather expose them to danger than leave them to uncertainty. So for better or worse, they're to come with us, at least initially anyway.
Perfect. So I think that would become something that would be very obvious to the other two of you, to Yosef and to Amen, that as you guys set out, that it's not only you and Walter and like the border guard warriors, but also Grant and Emma and Maria and all the civilians as well that would be coming along the path as well. I don't know if that's something that anyone would bring up or say anything about. Otherwise, we can go forward a little bit.
If battles join, they're obviously not there to hang back in the forest. I think he would
To
appoint.
flee. Yeah.
Yeah, they're there to hang back. We're going to rely on strength of arms, not just sentimental affection. Now, hopefully, we won't have to fight these outlaws, but yeah, they're to stay well back beyond bow shot, even if we approach to parley. And I think he would obviously confer with Lady Victyria to see if she wants to present them at least as visible to start with, or not, if that was her intent.
Yep.
Like yeah. So they can be visible to start with, maybe as long as that doesn't bring them within danger, and then drop back. So it'll be primarily us three, Victyria's bodyguard, and the border guard that will be involved in any danger.
Yeah, Amon is like just going with it. He had like laid out the plan of like just killing them before they realized what was happening. But that's not happening. And so now it's all much of a muchness, like how many of our people we bring.
Oh, it wouldn't take too much. A couple hours of travel from the early morning into the early afternoon before Amen. You'd start to remember the trees in the certain formations that you've seen through your arcane eye. It's like much different now during the day and in color. But still, the shapes are familiar, and you realize that you're getting close. And you'd also remember at this stage that it would probably only take a couple more minutes before you start to get within the eye line of the people that you would have seen patrolling, at least the night before through your arcane vision. It's likely that they're still doing the same, though, if the plan is to just walk forward and not worry about being seen, then that's not an issue. But you would know that you're crusting the final couple areas before the ruins themselves will be present in your vision.
I would ask the lady, should I appear as I am or as a man? Or should I not appear at all?
We should all appear as we are.
As you say. We will he'll like wait until it's likely that we'll just about come upon that patrol. He probably like has a good ear for it, and then like 3 or 4 seconds before anyone else would notice them, he will say that we're about to like encounter enemies.
Yeah, you hear through the trees like a small bit of voices, just like friendly conversation in the late morning between a couple of them as they approach. Like it's clear that they're not trying to like necessarily like hide or catch people off guard. It's just that they want to know who's approaching and why. Um, and soon after you hear the voices, the others would begin to hear them as well. The lady and then Yosef. A couple of them conversing lightly with each other. Soon to approach.
Victyria will steady herself in the saddle and try and adopt like a look of serenity and fail by the time that they come into view, and she'll present them with a smile and raise a hand from afar, like a weaponless hand, and call out, "Ho on the road."
The unintelligible, friendly conversation between them will like cease as the noise penetrates through. Uh, you'll hear a call back. Hello, who's there? We'll be there. And then you'll hear like the crunching of leaves and like sticks. As a couple men, begin to approach too, coming around the trees. You'll see 3 of them. Um, very very lightly armed. Like, basically it's more like hunting daggers and hunting bows than it is like soldier weaponry, but they have them nonetheless. And they won't be threatening or in any sort of intimidating stance, uh, but still kind of guarded, concerned, especially seeing now the 30 or so people that are in front of them.
I'm Victyria of House Rivkin, and this my retinue. Might I have the pleasure of your name, sir?
Uh, Martin, my lady.
Well met, Martin. You are kindly and well spoken. You must have a wise and counselled master. May I ask who she or he is?
So I kind of stop. It's he's like he's not sure exactly what you're asking. Where do you mean where I come from?
For whom
Who
do
is
you
in
walk
charge?
this road?
Ah, we have I mean, most of the people here are here for themselves. There is no rules as to who you must follow or obey. Uh, however, there is a man. His name is Ansel, uh, who seems to be more in lines of authority to the others. Uh, just more out of knowledge than out of oaths. He'll kind of like look to the knights at your side between Walter and Yosef.
I would much like
What
to speak
brings
with Ansel. If you would take me to him, me and mine would be in your debt, sir.
Do any of these guys look diseased by any chance?
No. At least no visible sign of any like outward pox or anything.
Okay.
Might I ask what brings? And he's like looking at like this huge, nearly army behind you. And it's not often that we get so high of number who come. What brings you all?
I had heard there was a pestilence upon this place, and it sat ill within me that a chantry so promising of assistance might let this place be forsaken. But now that I see it, you seem a healthy and affable group here.
Uh, when you mention that, his face will kind of twist a little bit, almost in surprise, and I'll, like look to the other two with like a small bit of fear. Uh, Sickness. What do you mean?
All know of the rumors of sickness and plague that linger over this place. They're spoken on all the roads south and east of here. Do you tell me, sir, that there is no plague or pestilence here?
I hope not.
And of the ruins, what of them? Do you and your folk go there?
It's usually where we sleep, but at least some of us like to get out. It gets a little dreary sitting around in there all day. Much better to get out and stretch your legs and do something useful.
Do you think that me and my ladies would be safe here under the hospice of Ansel and your fellow community?
Uh, I can't speak for him. He's a bit wary of, like kind of stop, like as if he's was about to say something that he perhaps shouldn't say. Uh, it'd be better if you speak with him. I'm in no place to say on my own.
Then I'll speak with this Master Ansel if you'll take me to him.
Yeah, okay.
As
This
we... Sorry, you
there you
go.
go. He was just gonna turn and say this way then, and kind of go in that direction.
As she follows him, she'll ask, do you have family, children?
No, not anymore. He'll kind of like say, and his like gaze will kind of shift downwards to the leaves. Like go out of his way to like kick at a rock and a stick on the ground. And then kind of shake a small moment.
My lady.
No.
I'm sorry, I grieve with you, Martin. I too have recently lost my own family and seek perhaps in these hills to make a new one.
My lady, should I give the order to make camp? Who would you wish to accompany you?
I think we should all have the hospitality of Ansel's Hall. I would not divide us. But speak your mind if you would.
Is the fortress visible from here?
Probably not quite yet, but very soon.
Yeah, I think his jaw would just work back and forward a bit, and then he'd just nod. And I think when we ride closer, I just want to get a look at the conditions of the front gates and that sort of thing. Because fortresses are nothing if not killing grounds, especially in the ride-in. So yeah, you'd want to get an estimate of like its military preparedness, guards on the walls, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I'll leave that to you then. Like to your assessment, be superior to Victyria's. She's focused on trying to like cajole these people. So I'll leave you to set for the contingency. I'll leave the people in your hands, but I want to eagerly follow Martin and get a sense of the community through him, but just through conversation.
Amma will give a nod to Yosef, like, I'll go with her.
Yeah, I think the orders, well, Victoria's intent, as I understood it, was to bring everyone, so that's what's happening at the moment. But I think he would look over at Amon and maybe pull his horse up alongside and say, it need not be said, but we should be wary for ambush, especially if we seek to bring everybody. And I'll nod back to the extremely vulnerable retinue.
I believe that she is trying to send a message of peacefulness. I think this is a bad idea, unwise. Nonetheless, criminal is a criminal and remains a criminal. I do not trust these people. My eyes will be open.
tap my nose with my staff and go, "Tie your horse. Trust in God, but tie your horse."
It wouldn't be too much longer until like the forest will like totally break. As the hill will kind of like crest downwards into just a small valley. You'll see kind of at the edge of your vision further the walls of the keep, and it's like as much as you can imagine, like a hundreds of year olds abandoned, ruined to look like it's in even worse condition than that. Um, there are parts of the wall that have like completely fallen away, stones that have just broken and eroded. Uh, Yosef, you specifically mentioned like a gate. You can even see that there's not a gate. Like whatever wood had been there has like totally fallen off and has been like removed away. Uh, though there are still a couple men kind of stationed towards the front gates of what would be the front wall, though it can hardly even be called a wall anymore. There's like massive parts missing in the stonework, and like leaves and vines and nature have like reclaimed parts and pieces of it that the people have not been able to like prevent. Uh, it's pretty bad.
At least Yosef will be happy that they can't be trapped in the bailey to be rained upon with arrows, at the very least.
As the group of you begins to approach, you'll see some of the people like at the front gate turning around, almost assuredly saying something to the people behind them, and like spreading message that a group approaches. And a small number would begin to kind of congregate around the front walls where the gate would be, um, peering either over the top of it or around from behind it, curiously, uh, at such a large group.
Has there been any sign of tension between them and the border guards that accompany us?
Most of the people that you see, Ammon especially, with your keen elvish eyesight, you would see that there's definitely sort of an air of on edge of these people. Um, most of the time, you get the sense, especially Victyria, you from talking to Martin on the way, you get the sense that most of their additions to people who live here tend to be like one, maybe two people at a time. Like in a rare instance, like a family of three. The prospect of having like 30 people all come at the same time is like very unheard of. And you can see Yosef and Ammon especially kind of not immediate aggression, but definitely very much signs of like what's happening here.
My lady Victyria, perhaps we should await outside the gates for this Ansel's welcome, to be invited in by himself.
A fine idea, Yosef, and a chance here to dwell amongst his people till it is convenient for him to come. We shall wait here then. And she'll smile around and look at the people, and like when they're giving her curious or suspicious gazes, she'll just try and return one of like serenity or friendliness and smile. And as if she'll turn and give a smile as if she's making some quaint comment about the place to Armon. But she says when we come in to council or parley, you should send your arcane eye throughout this place deeper and learn more so that we might see what lays beyond us.
Yeah, he'll give like an imperceptible nod, and he's like looking at the people, and he'll like try and affect a smile. It's not a usual thing that he does. It's probably more unnerving than helpful, but it's an attempt anyway. And as he's like replying to Victyria, he will summon an arcane eye and send it exploring. Particularly, like he wants to put it among people to see if like anyone runs off, like a boy, or like runs off into an alleyway to like tell another boy or something like that. So he'll like just kind of quietly summon that as he's speaking to Victyria.
Victyria, after that,
Yeah.
she'll like smile and look back at the people and say, "Yes, quite so," and then like get down out of her saddle and move amongst looking for women and children and if able to, getting close enough to give them a good look to see if any shows signs of like pustules or scabs or like sickness, anything like that, while she waits for Ansel.
Yeah, and Amen, it wouldn't be new to you, so it's hard to gather any sort of specific data from it, but you would keenly feel the stares of confused apprehension from basically anybody who's among the sort of 7 or 8 people who have like come out to the gate to watch what's happening. Most of them, you would see their eyes kind of catch on you as they scan the crowds and look around and like speak to each other, and like hushed whispers would be exchanged between people um, as they talk. But as the arcane eye goes out, um, once you move it like up through where the gate is and the wall, you can see on the other side of it. Um, there's probably about another 10 people who are at this point not visible to the group on your side of the wall. They're not like waiting as if to immediately attack, but they do have bows and arrows and like short blades at their side, and they're not primed to shoot immediately, but you can see that they are very much prepared. It seems like once you do go past the wall, that you will have people basically on all sides of you. Um, you can see that. Uh, and word has already kind of begun to be sent along. Uh, so you'll see like some people, like one of them will turn to another and say something, and that person will like run back towards the keep and so on. It
I'll
seems like
follow.
word has very
Yeah.
much started to spread. There you go.
I'll have whoever is running. I'll have the eye follow that person. Basically, I want to follow it to Ansel, I guess, is where it's going, and I want to see like I want to watch his reaction and like what the like if the response is like interesting or if it's like damn or whatever. I'm keen for that, and I'll also just like turn to Yosef. Actually, I won't even turn to him. Like my eyes are glazed over because I'm looking through this, but I will like point at where the walls are and just like explain to him exactly where every one of those people are, like their exact positions and how far they are from when we go through the wall. Like 17 feet in this direction, there's one guy and he's got a short, but like just exact perfect details of the layout so that he can tell his knights and stuff, so he won't be surprised.
I think Yosef would just would kind of nod at this information, but he would want to know, do they ready an attack, Amon? Because it's one thing to know where they are, but he needs to know what their attitude is, I guess.
It doesn't appear so. They are armed and ready. It doesn't look like they have hostile intent. More likely, they are scared. But nonetheless, we should be careful.
He'll nod and he'll say, and the pit?
I have not looked yet. I'm following the runners to see what this Ansel thinks.
He'll nod and fall silent, knowing Amon is away with the fairies.
Was the eye follows up, and I always forget. Sorry, but the arcane eye does not hear, correct? Just see.
Just sees. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so you see this like strange, like you're used to it at this point. This like dissociation where like the sounds that you hear are like the sounds of the people that are around like you physically, but your sight is like not that. And it's strange. Like the footsteps don't line up, the people don't, but it's not unnerving to someone as practiced as you are. Till eventually you do see that a couple of these men have now kind of congregated next to this runner. He's kind of exchanging information with them, and they'll like all kind of go up towards Ansel as if to like eagerly await what he's saying. And it's the same man the previous time that you scouted with your eye, the one who seemed to be in charge, that everybody was speaking to, that seemed to be giving orders, that they speak to the same man, confirming, I guess, what you had seen before with what you had heard. Um, and as their words kind of go out, the initial expression is kind of one of curiosity, but then the more that you see the mouths move, the more Ansel's brow will furrow. And he'll kind of like lightly, not out of like any absurd great fury, just kind of slam his hand on the ground in silence as he's like sitting there and just kind of like shake his head rapidly. but then he'll like stand up and begin to move.
Yeah, I'll have the eye follow him as best I can. I want to see where he's going. Does he still have that sword in him? He had a sword of the what were they called? Starts with a G. Up north.
Gawain, yeah.
Gawain, yeah. He still has that?
Yes, it's at his side, yep. And he'll like tie it onto his belt as he stands up to move.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I'll just have the eye follow him wherever he goes, whatever he does.
Yeah, he'll like stand up and begin shouting to the other people around him, who will like begin to move a lot faster. And you'll see some of the people. There's probably about 8, I think. You'd see. That's how much that I think that I had said before. Yeah, who just seem to be just people, and they will all kind of like hover towards the back of this place as orders are being shouted silently. And you'll see a good chunk of the other men begin to like grab weaponry just in case, picking up more hunting bows and short blades and things like that to be prepared. Um, Not knowing what the intent is. Again, similar to the people at the wall, you don't get necessarily the sense of like shoot on sight, rob these people blind or anything like that, but it's definitely a clear sense of like this may be a fight for our life that we have to defend.
Okay. My intent is basically to keep following Ansel until he's in normal sight of us, and then I want to put the eye up in the air, looking down, so that I can see anyone who like begins to like move around behind us or like ready. Like this is just like a stupid spell, but like, yeah, I'm gonna put it like 60 feet above where we meet this person, so that I can like see the whole entire area around it in case there's any untoward movement.
Yeah, he'll like move through like the ruined keep, going down broken stairways and through like openings in walls. This place is basically nearly like one large room with like some obstacles in it, rather than like a keep at this stage with how much of it has fallen apart. As more people begin to gather, they'll begin to like follow him out down to the main entry into like the actual keep itself, between like the wall where you guys are at and then the actual door into the hold. And he'll kind of set himself up at the front of it. The other people will like go around past him out of the door and next to the walls of the actual hold, kind of spreading out in a sort of like lined arc around him with like hands on bows just in case. You can see their hands are all like down on arrows and quivers, but they're not like knocked and ready at this stage.
I think restless while they're waiting for Ansel to appear, and his nape of his neck prickling a little with the idea of soldiers just over the wall, prepared. Yosef will try and arrange the retinue in a somewhat subtle defensive manner. I don't know if there's any buildings or ruins on the outside of the wall that have or any cover at all. I mean, obviously a fortress wouldn't have anything there, but I don't know if something has sprung up in the meantime, or trees have grown closer, or otherwise we'll just use the cart itself, perhaps, for them to mill around some of the more vulnerable members of the group.
Yeah, there wouldn't really be much. Like you could keep them back at like the tree line, where the forest kind of breaks out to go down the hill towards the wall. But
And how far
outside of
back is
that,
how far
be
back
like
is
it'd be within eye line definitely, but it's probably a good, 100 to a couple 100 feet.
Oh, okay. Just right. So it's still sort of within bowshot. Yeah, that's all right. I mean, he's just restless here, like right in front of the walls with all these people. So I guess he'd probably just use the cart, perhaps under the cover of maybe adjusting supplies and the like. He would just have them so they're it's easily accessible for them to take cover behind the cart if they need to. That's all.
So after a time, and Amon, to you, it would be apparent what's happening, that they're basically like setting up everybody in case this is an attack, so that they're in like maximal place for defense. Though the others, it would just seem as if you're being made to wait. Although Ammon could easily convey that information.
Yeah, and he would like literally step by step whenever someone moves on the other side, like an archer moves enough for it to no longer be exactly where he had been. He would like be just like running commentary to Yosef, like this one over here with the red hat has moved 3 steps to the left, and there's 4 of them in this building, and they're on the roof about 15 feet up or whatever. Like really precise, probably annoyingly like exact to Yosef. He doesn't need this kind of information. It's not even necessarily that helpful. But he'll just give him, because he can see it literally as it is, and so he just wants at least Yosef to know when he walks in there exactly what he's going to see.
I think Yosef just sort of frowns and he goes, and he's having a hard time keeping up with the information, because I imagine like if 3 people are moving at once, like Amon just accelerates the speed of information to say, and so already stressed with the situation, Yosef will just kind of like wipe his brow and he'll say, "Be still, Amon. Just tell me when it's important."
It's like baffling to Ammon that he thinks that Yosef doesn't think like each tiny like movement isn't important, and this is why apes can't do magic, because they don't care about the little tiny inconsequential things, because everything is consequential to Ammon, and all of these things are important. And even like he like looks down and he can see, you know, as they like move all together, there's like a pattern that forms just for a brief second, and it reminds him of like a song that he understands, and it reminds him of this like formula and theorem and all of this stuff. But Yosef doesn't care. He just wants to know like roughly where they are, and he thinks for a moment like this is one of the differences.
I don't care if the red hat archer's scratching his nose. Just tell me if they're going to attack, God damn it.
As you say.
And it wouldn't be too much longer before one of the men who was like behind the wall will like see a signal from Ansel, will then like come around the wall and like say something to one of the other people, who will then like go to Martin and speak with him. And then Martin will turn towards you, Victyria, and then kind of slowly eye the others, and just give a nod and say, "Ansel, we'll see you in the courtyard. You can go through."
Ammon will make a point as we go through to whichever archer believes he is best hidden, or like if there's a particular archer who's like in a place that's hard to see, Ammon will make a point as he goes through to look directly at him.
Now, usually we would get some kind of hospitality rights or something before we went into the fortress, right? In a situation like this.
Maybe if it was like a nobility, perhaps, but these are just like people.
Yeah, I think Yosef just lets out a growl. Just doesn't like the pure vulnerability of this position, but
really, they're allowing us to bring an elf into the middle of their everything, so they're making themselves vulnerable to us. Like, if that can help buoy your thoughts.
Yeah, I could just make it if like, because that's as much like I think them offering us peace or me saying like I'll dissolve you is much of a muchness in terms of them not attacking us.
more elf diplomacy.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't mean that like half your retinue won't die with arrows in them first.
That's true.
So yeah, but I think you'll trust, and also this is Lady Victyria's day, and so yeah, you just sort of growl quietly to himself, and maybe you'll tell them to wait outside for the time being, the rest of the retinue, and perhaps border guard, but he would look to see if Victyria's happy with that or not.
Well, normally I think it'd just be appropriate for like the noble and the small retinue of like a host like this to come in to be greeted. But since this isn't a noble house and they're self-confessed, independent, leaderless commune, then we should just all go in. Maybe if it makes you feel better, have all the steel armored around all of the sheep when we go in.
Well, they got to file through the gate, but yeah, that's all right. As you wish, my lady. Yeah, we'll all file in.
All right. And before we get into the meeting, I have to use the bathroom super bad. So let's take like a super short, like 2-minute break.
Okay.
And we'll get into that. So, be right back.
Yeah.
Don't like passing under that murder hole, do you, Quo? Into that crossbow courtyard?
It's more. I'm trying to. Like Yosef's a military guy, so I'm just imagining what would be running through his mind. Like, oh yeah, we'll just waltz into this kill zone. So yeah, it's caught halfway between that kind of training and diplomacy, I guess. Yeah, mission of mercy.
At least in your case, the decision's easier being a zealot, the knowing that there's evil or darkness beyond that must be purged. That would trump all other concerns, I imagine.
Yeah, I think he's yet to lock eyes on that thing yet, but yeah.
That makes it all the more makes him all the more curious, I would wonder.
Yeah, but also why there's no sign of sickness.
Illusion, bruh, I reckon.
It's freaking Amon out as well.
Yep. It's all going to be like fine and dandy until, okay, well, now if you'll join us for the child eating or whatever the phrase thing is. That's what I'm feeling. Like it's all going to be very friendly and amiable. And like, I like these people. Like, I want to put on the poncho. And then they'll, bring out the cannibalism or something. We'll have to
bring a stag helmet.
De-atomize them all.
One of us.
Right,
one
I'm
of
back.
us.
All right. Sorry about that.
Good, man.
So as the group goes to, oh, sorry.
I have my transmuter's stone. I can see invisible creatures and objects within 10 feet of me, just in case that comes up. That's basically always on. I can always see invisible things that are near me, but just in case.
Cool. That shouldn't right now matter, but I'll keep that in mind just in case.
Yeah, you never know.
So the group begins to file in. But just as the group begins to make it to the gate, one of them will like turn and look, and Ansel will like call out across the courtyard for you to stop, and then he'll point right at you, Ammon, and say, "That one cannot come. If you wish to speak, we will not see it with him."
Amon will like laugh at the pointing. Like no one's pointed at him before, not for like 100 years.
We are speaking now, can't you see, Ansel? Let us speak here if you'll not let him pass further. I can hear you well enough.
And I give you the oath of an Argus of Panopte that I stand close by to see that this elf does no unjust harm.
Amon will like smile at the man and like look around at the people. He won't say anything further because he'll just make it worse. But that'll be enough.
Victyria will just begin moving away from where the group was stopped by Ansel's voice, and she alone will like cross through the courtyard of Bowman toward him.
Yeah, and you'll see immediately what Ammon had said, as if you were to like glance side to side, you'll see like another like 8 people who are like now behind you, like hands on their bows and the arrows in their quiver, all like watching with a keen intensity.
I'll spread my hands wide towards Ansel when I get a couple of feet from him and bow low and say, I am Victyria of House Rivkin. I bid you well met and beg hospitality for my retinue here, if it is indeed your authority to give, Ansel.
I like look to the person next to him who had like said something before, right before he had like shouted to stop, and kind of like look to make sure that that person is okay. It seems like this person is like very anxious, like especially at the sight of Ammon. And it was like him who had said something. But then I like turn back to you. So at this stage, has anybody else passed through the gate to go with her, or is it
I
just
would
her?
think not.
I mean, I have every intention of going, but I think this was like a symbolic thing of her going first, like fearlessly. So I'll wait, but I mean, I'm not staying out here.
What about your bodyguard? He would have gone with you, right?
Yeah, Walter.
No, just she'll go. I want to let this guy feel like as much of a commandy lord as he can.
In that case, I think Yosef reaches to a pouch at his belt and brings out a small, richly folded prayer. Well, actually, no, he takes up the edge of his cloak, which is embroidered and inscribed with prayers anyway, and pulling a thread from it, blows it towards Victyria, asking for the Savior to watch over her, and I'll cast our Shield of Faith on Victyria. Sorry, I'll have it in 1 minute. Which I think just gives her a +2 to AC, but it's concentration. Yeah, concentration up to 10 minutes.
Rad. Yeah, Ansel will look to you and finally respond. And what is the Lady of Nobility doing in a place of the forlorn like this? What brings you to have cause to come here?
I am one of you, of course. Forlorn and forsaken by the other stone houses outside of the Sceptry, here beyond the reach of all but the most fervent justice. And I had heard there was sickness and plague which must be cleansed here, and that there is a holdfast which once was strong, that should be a seat for those who would protect our realm. She's referring to the border guard beyond at her retinue, but she won't insult the man's intelligence by making a show of that. But I see these people here are well enough, and you yourself seem to prosper, even to bear knightly steel. She'll gesture to the blade at his side. But I wonder if we have yet seen all.
I didn't earn this from being in a place like this. I'll kind of like pat down at the sword. I took it with me from before. Whatever prosperance you think we have here, you are wrong. It is a struggle. We fight just for food, just to live, because no other place will have us. And you say that you come here under the same affliction, and yet you bring with you an elf, 30 soldiers,
And small folk, old
exemplar.
women and young girls, humble folk, a spectrum of all.
And you really expect me to believe that you come here just to join in on the party, to sit around and scrounge for food?
No, I'm not content with that, nor should any person here be. That is a thing I intend to change.
And how do you intend to do that?
To
Do
bring the
what your
might of
nobles always do? Take control, make this place your own, tell us to follow your orders, do what you say?
yes, of course.
We don't want it.
Well, you don't want it. You have leadership, something to lose here. All the other people have much to gain. The wealth and help of our house, the favour of the chantry, the healing that would provide to the sick and meek. But having heard your answer, Ansel, and knowing you a man of keen intellect, I will not harangue you further, but I would extend this offer to any else here who would rather sleep under a roof than against an ancient stone.
These people, Ansel will continue, came here to get away from people like you. You didn't want us. What reason do we have to think that this will be different?
There
Will
has never been
everyone be pardoned of their crimes? Live
I, s-
freely, despite the terrible things that they've done?
I see no known criminals here and see no criminal activity which needs be punished. And yes, I would have the slate of those who would join me wiped clean to make way for a new chapter. And none who you and these people who claim to be leaderless have served under a person like myself, for there's never been a person like myself afflicted in many ways as a people who dwell in this forlorn place. And I have lost much at the hands and have much cause to hate those who you and people like yourselves shall raise our voice to the people around them have left. I will not press you into my service by force, but by force I will have my will over this place.
So if we won't give it over, you plan to take it, if I understand you.
This place is sworn to the border guard that they may re-establish a stronghold here and see their attentions turned to greater threats, like the princes to the east and savages to the north, rather than having to contend with this lawless place that once housed the divine soul and now is a place for the exiled to congregate. Being an exile myself, and of noble blood and no small power, I think my actions fitting. Would you resist me, Ansel?
You know, from what I've heard, and I have heard, plenty of people would offer a pretty penny for me to take you back and hand you over to some other people who might be in the area. What's stopping me from taking their reward and building this place up myself?
She'll take a step closer to him. There is no thing stopping you. If you wish to take orders from House Tierra, then it is your choice to make. If you would do their bidding when asked and paid like a sellsword, rather than take an oath and say the lawful words to me, there is no thing stopping you but a few inches of ground. And she'll level her eyes at him. I will not break my word. None here will be pledged into subservience by force, but any who ally with an enemy of my house will be destroyed. So you know why I've come, Ansel? And I can guess why you are here. The people need you, and in a way you enjoy your servitude to them. So in knowing one another, what next? Will you order those men behind to fill me full of quarrels? Will a Hell's Elf destroy every person that looks to you for safety? Or will you invite me in and we will sit and eat and share wisdom with words that are not veiled?
We'll kind of like look around at the other people, all on guard and apprehensive. Just kind of like shake his head. Fine. You can bring your people in and we'll talk.
And our House Elf, he is part of my retinue and should be welcomed here. Fear him if you must, hate him if you have learnt to, but respect his rank and title.
And so we'll like look around to the others at that, and like the same person who had like spoken before will like shake his head no at Ansel. You'll see. It wouldn't take much to look around and see. But Ansel will like put a hand and like nod.
Is this man perhaps some joint ruler of this place? She'll look to the whispering, muttering, side-swilling man. What is your name, sir? What is your business?
I'm Philip. He'll say nervously.
And you would have your master sell me to House Tierra, Philip?
That thing, it can't come in here.
It can come in here as easily as it wishes.
No, it can't.
What
Nance
is
will
wrong,
like
Philip?
wave the man off.
Can
I would hear what Philip has to say.
can Joseph look upon Ansel, his shadowy companion, and the surrounds of at least the keep within range? He's going to use divine sense to sense any evil, strong evil, I believe it's. Or corrupting influence on either of these men, or perhaps on the keep itself.
I'm going to cast Detect Thoughts on Philip.
I'm going to smile
Alright,
convivially.
what's the range on divine sense?
60 feet.
Okay, you wouldn't sense anything.
Okay.
And what's the detect thoughts? That's I think 30 feet. So you wouldn't be close enough.
I'll just move then. Until I am
Okay.
within 30 feet.
I might actually reach out and catch his bridle and say, not knowing that he's going to cast a spell, I would sense rather that this is at a delicate balance right now. Might get thrown. So sorry, Joseph's going to restrain you yet again.
He'll stop then. But he's interested. Like this, he didn't say like he shouldn't or we shouldn't let him. Like he can't. And it gives Ammon the impression that there's like a story or a myth or something that this guy thinks that elves shouldn't be in this place.
Yeah.
And so Ammon will like put his hands wide. You know something, Philip.
Speak, please. Victyria will add in.
He'll just shake his head.
If you do not speak, I will enter into this place, and whatever you fear will come to pass.
No. You
Then
can't,
speak.
please.
By
His
what
eyes would,
authority?
like dart between.
By what
There you go.
authority do you forbid his presence?
I forbid nothing. I have no authority.
You speak to your master's ear as I approach, and he looks to you for cue and signal upon making his decision. Do not lie further, and speak to me now, Philip. The true concern I will order Maester Aemon to attend me here at this spot.
He'll just look up to you, Victyria, like desperation, like real desperation in his eyes. Just say, please.
What is the source of your fear, Philip? Why did you say he cannot enter this place? Clearly he can. Illuminate me. I beseech you. I command you.
If you would want to roll an insight, you can go ahead and do
Oh,
that.
I would love to roll an insight. I'll use that D4 you gave me too, Quentin, for my coming of age. Insight is +9, so that's going to be a 26.
Jesus. Yeah, so you can see in this man's eyes, like no measure of like authority, just like genuine, real, like desperate fear. Not as if like he refuses or does not want to say, but as if something is like preventing him from saying under some sort of duress. Like he wants to tell you but can't.
Ooh, the plot thickens.
She'll level her eyes at him, but somehow soften. And her body language will relax. And she'll communicate that same sentiment, but through the sing-song speech and finger movements of elves back to Armon.
He'll reply with, I must come a little closer, and I will find the truth of this.
She'll signal back, some force prevents him from speaking. Perhaps I'll bring him to you instead, just in case there is wisdom in his fear of you crossing the courtyard's threshold. And she will turn back to the man and then in the common speech bid him to come closer and that she will vouch for his safety and stand alongside him. This a compromise to see the elf not come into the courtyard.
Yosef will nod at this wisdom. And looking to Armon, he'll say, we know where the source, where the true threat issues from this place. Where is it, Armon? Point.
Yeah, he'll do so. Point towards where the pit is.
So it's basically like the basement of this place is like this pit.
Mhm.
Like you can go down through a stairwell like in the actual keep itself, which is goes down into the basement level, and like that's where this his arcane eye was not able to pierce through.
Oh, okay, so that's just one of the access points was barricaded.
Yeah,
No, it was,
so
like,
the
magically, right?
yeah,
Like
so
the eye couldn't...
the sort of entry point down to it was like blocked off, like it was like basically like filled with junk, so that like people don't go down there. But even the arcane eye, when it went down there, it could not see, as if it had been warded by some sort of anti-divination magic.
Yeah, I'm going to gesture for Philip to come over to the gatehouse to stand before Armon so that Armon can do his wizardry upon him and give him the alternative of it's either that or Armon comes in with the rest of the retinue. I'm not going to make a house elf stand outside the walls of a ruin unless there's good cause. And I believe there is, but I want to hear it rather than just ambiguously sense it. Yeah. The key word when he said can't, that triggered me as well, Lloyd. The same brain.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah.
So I'm gonna lay that out to Philip, Jeff. The elf comes in with me now, or he comes to see the elf at the gatehouse.
Does Philip wear any of the trappings of like a religious man, or does he have?
No,
Okay.
he's in just plain clothing. He bears no mark or even like posture of somebody who comes from that sort of position. He might as well be a commoner you'd see on any street corner.
So
So
if he
Philip
comes,
will. Sorry, you go.
I'll try and persuade him if I need to mechanically.
Yeah, let's try it.
Okay.
He's very apprehensive.
I'm going to use a level 1 spell slot on myself.
Okay.
Cast guidance, so that'll add another d4 from Quo's one. So
Yeah,
it's
you're
going
looking
to
to
give.
beat a 15.
Oh fuck. 12. Fail.
So just something about the entire prospect of Ammon is like it's like almost to the point of like genuine phobia. It'd be like trying to tell someone who's scared of the ocean to dive in. Like it's just he's not having it. And like the thought of either of the options that you present to him, um, both of them seem to be equally horrifying to him.
Philip, I know your name. If you do not come, I can compel you to do so.
He cannot come of his own accord, master. You must.
Oh, he didn't even approach Philip.
No, I failed to persuade him to do so.
Say, Philip, look upon me and tell me what you see.
I see a man in steel.
I am an exemplar, an Argus of the Panopte. It is my sacred duty to guard the elf against the corruption of chaos, the insidious workings of the shadows, the shadow upon the mind of the elf. Say, and I travel with him at all times. Will you not speak to me of the dangers that leave you so afeared? Can I roll? Can I use the magic of dice to compel plot development? Would that be persuasion or the 22?
Yeah. So with that, just like I think it'd be obvious too, especially to Victyria, that like the attention that's on him itself is very like unnerving to him. Like he's not used to like having the eyes of the entire group like all
Yeah.
staring at him like this, and it's like furthering the whatever anxiety is like spurred within him. But with the call of the exemplar, he'll begin to like very very slowly, like torturously slowly, as if he has to like drag hundreds of pounds weight to take a step. Will begin like walking towards you, Victyria.
She'll smile and take like one of his arms, like a half embrace, to strengthen and walk with him.
I'm going to cast Detect Magic.
All right, yeah, you can do so.
So I'm particularly wondering if he is under some sort of magical compulsion. So if there's any sort of sign of magic from him, but generally anything 30 feet from me will light up.
And if I see Yosef beginning to cast magic, I would probably just pull forward between him and Philip, so as not to alarm Philip.
It's a minor. I think like Ammon is capable, particularly with like low level spells, to do it without all of the sort of huge
invocations and stuff.
Yeah, particularly like something like Dispel Magic, which would be Detect Magic, which is like so basic that it's almost he can just like open his eyes and do it.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
At least that's kind of how I reckon it is. I think the bigger the spell, the more intense the incantation must be.
So as he starts to like inch closer and closer, eventually he'll get within that 30 feet range, and you'll see him just light up with enchantment magic.
Okay. So let's see.
Dispel it.
Yeah, I'm going to dispel it. I'm just trying to think.
I could just imagine Lloyd rubbing his hands, looking at his spell.
Yeah. I'm getting to do so much stuff. Yeah,
Rolls
so
off the table and down onto the floor.
when I sense that, then I will definitely begin trying to dispel this magic. And I guess I will cast it at 5th level.
It's the only thing keeping him alive.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Okay. I am going
so
to need you to roll the check for it.
Okay. That is a DC equals 10 plus the spell's level. Okay, yeah, so I need to make a... Is this like a spell attack? Yeah, spellcasting ability, okay. Okay, super good. 15 plus 9. 24?
All right. Yeah, that is enough. As it turns out, it's not a level 15 spell.
Thank God for that.
Fuck.
Yeah, you'll cast this dispel magic. Like, and you'll like visibly see this like overloading of enchantment magic. Like it had to have been like 3 or 4, if not even like 5 spells on him. Will fade away.
Does detect magic do all spells at once or only one?
The spell, it's of a certain level. It ends all
Yeah,
of a certain level or lower.
So it's
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Even the magical essence of life itself. No.
Yeah. He just shrivels into a husk.
just falls into dust.
A life condemned to a life.
Cured.
Yeah, so Amon will I guess incant, and he'll sing these like 3 melodies at once, and then as he realizes that there's more spells, he will like add more and more harmonies with his one voice to the spell until finally it looks like he's like pulling like these invisible ropes from Philip until he finally like binds them and like crushes them between his hands.
Yeah, as you do that, Philip will literally like bring his like hands up to his face as if you were like swinging a punch at him. Though when he doesn't like die or become disintegrated or turn into a frog, he'll like bring his arms like a little bit down, still guarded, afraid. And you'll get the sense that he probably doesn't know that whatever is on him is now like not on him anymore, and he'll still be like afraid.
You were under the effects of a magical compulsion. I have removed it from you.
Tell us now what you could not earlier.
If there's something in me, I don't know who or how, but I knew if that, and I'll like point at Ammon like it's calling you that, if that thing came through the gate, I would die.
This is not true. At least if you do not raise a hand against us. As Amon spoke, these thoughts were not your own. Or perhaps the fears of another. Can I just quickly shoot a glance up to Ansel and see how he's taking all this?
Hearing the and seeing the elven magic has definitely kind of set him on a concerned edge. And like hearing the words come off of Philip, it's definitely sort of an apprehensive confusion at everything that's happened. Like he was not expecting this to be how this day played out in any sense of the word.
Okay, but he doesn't look like he's on the edge of attacking or anything.
I am not the first elf that you have spoken to, Philip.
I think so. You are.
How did you come under this magical compulsion then?
I don't know.
Where were you before this? Before you made a home here?
I've been here for uh, well over a couple seasons. It's been a long time. I
It's not the
came
question I
from
asked you, Philip.
this feeling. It just happened. I'm from out west, Gawain.
Look to Ansel.
Have you been into the basement?
No, they said not to go there. That it's bad.
Do you understand that I can read your mind?
Yeah, anxious fear that's been over him will reflect again on his face. I remember, must have been, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. It blends together. I'm sorry. I woke up in the night, and a voice told me that none of your kind could come in. That I had to keep you out. And for some reason, I knew that if I didn't, something bad would happen. I could feel it.
Is it
This voice
only
came to you in your dreams, you say?
Dreams awake, I don't know. It was during the night though. It woke me up, or at least I think it did.
She'll turn to Armon and hiss in Elvish, that she-bitch from Tierra.
And he'll reply, could have been.
How else would word move so fast to these parts of the destruction of my house and of the pursuit of us, no doubt, by House Tierra? But by magic, it could not have been by mundane means.
The question remains why they would not want me to go there.
And what such a compeller would think that one such as this wretch capable of stopping you or the likes of you?
It makes me think that it was not an elf.
Ansel? What do you know of the darkness that lurks beneath this fortress?
I know that a nasty sickness hit this place a while back. People left in a hurry. Some people think it's still here. I don't know.
In the lower levels, you think the sickness resides?
That's
Your
what
man-
people said before I got here. That's what they told me.
And who has lived here longest and holds the wisdom of this place? I'll look up and around at some of the archers.
Most people don't stay here for long.
Well, we are to understand there is something lurking beneath this fortress. And perhaps it is the same thing that has reached within Philip's mind and fears the coming of the elf. So it's only Amon that knows the real history of the sickness and its
But he
connection
told
to
us
the
that, right?
disciple.
Yeah, I would have told you for sure.
Oh, you
And I'm
did?
pretty
Okay.
sure I asked about it when we left the Chantry and we're heading
Yeah.
bivouacking west to then go north. We just didn't actually have the information then, but he did
Yeah.
regale us on the road then.
Oh yeah, it was
Yeah.
just Jeff related that particular insight at the start of this session, so I wasn't sure if we knew that.
Yeah, I got the
anecdote.
impression that was known
Yeah,
knowledge from
passed on,
before,
yeah.
right? Because it's academic knowledge, not like a bolt of inspiration.
Yeah, cool. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Yosef's teeth will kind of grind back and forth as he secretly fears that perhaps some great twisted, fallen version of a disciple lurks below. He hopes it's not so, thinking perhaps there was an elf here once upon a time that has succumbed to darkness instead. But yeah, that nagging feeling that such a paragon of their faith could have fallen low and become some twisted mockery of itself.
So I don't know, Yosef. How knowledgeable, Yosef, are you of magic in general, of the specifics of magic?
Well, mechanically, I do not have Arcana, but I am an Argus of the Panopte, which is our whole focus is to guard elves. So we would have. Oh, you mean arcane magic in particular?
Like the inner workings of spells, like how and why you would use certain ones, more than anything.
No, I don't think that's in his wheelhouse, really.
All right, then just Ammon will say, if you want to roll either Arcana or Insight.
I will choose Arcana, as I am exceptionally good at it. 24.
So I think you'd probably be able to piece together, Ammon especially more so than out of character. The spell that this person was under was a Gias spell.
Yeah. Yep.
So I think you would probably get the sense that perhaps he wasn't meant to stop you, but that you entering would make a scene because he would fail to stop you and he would die.
Right. Yeah.
And so condemn you to the unknowing. Yeah, like all the people would see that and assume that you had done it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was my assumption that it was Gias as well. But I know that like Ammon would know that people of faith can cast that spell too. That it's like one that's shared between disciplines. Which means it doesn't necessarily have to be an elf.
Yeah, basically any powerful person of magic could potentially do it.
And there are also beings in this world, that are not elves or men. I guess Ammon would know that. Yeah. So my guess, or Ammon's guess, would be that there's something there that doesn't want an elf to go there because an elf likely has the capability to deal with it or banish it or whatever it is. I think it's more likely that it's whatever is in there already as opposed to an elf who didn't want us to go in there. I don't feel like Hecate would have done this. I feel like it's something in here.
Well then,
but that's just like a hunch or a guess.
And so, if you bid us welcome, perhaps the elf can come forward and prove Philip's fears baseless, and we may take of bread and drink together.
And you, Exemplar, you've seen this elf before. You know that what it has done has removed this curse from Philip, if such a thing was truly there. You believe this? That he is safe?
I find that Ammon rarely takes the effort to deceive. So yes, and he is my ward, and I give guarantee of his behavior, for it is my sacred charge. And you see now, Philip, where he could not speak his mind, has now done so, which is proof enough.
We'll just sort of nod to that.
And we do not speak lightly of this darkness that gathers in the roots of this fortress. And it is something It is something we would seek to purge from this place. And rather than hide and cower and struggle, as you have said, we would seek to bring honor back to this fortress, and a place for all those who feel themselves worthy to reclaim their dignity and find a place in this world once more that is not a crack or a hole or a ruin.
And if you think this elf has truthfully done so, then you may enter. I will not stop it.
I think, although it's entirely unnecessary, Yosef will wave Amon forward, like somehow it's within his authority to grant him entrance.
Yeah, Amon will move forward, looking entirely unconcerned, and he'll like look at Ansel as he approaches.
Yeah, as you pass through the gate, Philip will like wince, as if he'll still die. Like even though with as much assurance has been placed on him that he won't, the fear will still like pang. But then once you actually walk through and past, he'll like see, even like touch at his body, and see that he is not harmed or dead. And will like breathe a heavy sigh of relief. Still like kind of shaking and breathing heavy with fear, but glad that he has not been sent to death. But you'll enter. Are you going to bring the entirety of the crew along inside as well? You would all have been welcomed at this stage.
Yeah, everyone.
Perfect. Yeah, and slowly but surely, the dozens of you will be able to go in, enter through the gate. It's kind of a slow process to fit everybody through the bottleneck of the entryway, stopping, but you would not be harassed any further. And you would see that the men around would still be cautious, still concerned, having heard your intent to take this place, and the atmosphere would not lighten to the point of complete casualness. There'd still sort of be an air of attentiveness to everybody. But at the very least, the immediate guard has been slightly lowered. They're not trained and ready to fire at any moment anymore. Just apprehensive.
Do these people look half-starved, or they look hungry? I guess is probably a better question.
Yeah, they're not like starving to the point of like they're not gonna waste away at any moment. But obviously, food here is much more scarce than it would be in a common civilized place. They're getting enough to not die, but they're not full either.
And I can't.
Are there any who need like seeing to wounds or sickness that is not pestilence or plague?
Nothing of like major import. There's at least nobody that's in desperate need of like immediate attention.
Okay.
Nicks and scrapes, but nothing of grave danger.
And do we have enough food to share with these people? I can't remember where we were at with supplies and stuff.
We don't really, but we should.
It would put a huge strain, yeah, on your
Amon
supplies.
would be strongly against that. We need to take care of our own people. We don't even know if these people are going to serve us yet.
Well, yeah. Anyway,
That's totally valid. I just feel like it'll help our chances diplomatically.
Yeah.
Right.
If you got to act like you got to give them a taste of the good life, you know what I mean, or a taste of.
If I come off shrewd or miserly with the food and stuff, that's not going to like be very appealing.
It's going to create a hierarchy straight away,
and
like
it might make them think that we're weak, which we are.
Well, we know we can get supplies through the border guard anyway, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
have
have
no
the
money.
means between us to gain food. We have like magic and power and wits. Like we'll get food.
Um,
Yeah, so I say against the against better judgment of the centuries old elf, I'll say we should share our food with them. I feel like I've thrown the dice into it already. So what's the food as well,
Yeah.
for better or worse? So I'd make a show that we get Mariah and the others to get out our food and share it with them as they share their food with us.
Yeah. Amon is just inclined to like rule through tyranny because we can easily, and it's like way better for us resource wise. But yeah, we've already like, or you've already invested in and we have already invested in like the diplomatic route, so it's probably a better call.
Also,
Yeah,
it means
you'd
our
see
people are
some.
eating our food and not
Sorry.
theirs. So if there is some sickness in the food or water,
Yeah.
we'll at least insulate them from that for now, if they're not already filled.
and I think joining with Eckhart and perhaps leaving Lady Victyria and Amon to discuss things with Ansel. Joseph and Eckhart will seek to distribute the food, and probably with some kind of religious overtones, some kind of sacred sharing of bread and I'm not sure if we have like watered ale or something like that. Otherwise, it'd just be water, I guess.
Yeah, you would see Yosef as you like distribute the food not just among your people in the border guard, but once it kind of starts to make its way around to the people who are squatting here, um, that some like concerned and confused glances would start to come from like your own retinue. Uh, like why are we using so much of our resources on these people? Like the sort of distrust and worry about resources would be apparent. But the group here would be very grateful to receive an extra bounty from their guests.
I think at that point he would begin relating a story of the Savior and how the Savior gave food to all that came and all that needed. So he would fall back on religious authority. Um, I'm sure there's more than one tale of charity, and how charity creates the brotherhood and the sisterhood of humanity.
Yeah, no one would directly say anything, especially relenting to your religious authority and the commands of Lady Victyria. But just it would still be on their faces. And then Ansel will bring the rest of you in, Victyria and Ammon. Um, and he'll just look to you, Victyria, and just reiterate. Just because we've brought you in doesn't necessarily mean we're ready to give this place over. But it's better to talk here than with weapons in hands and worry.
Can't hear you, Nico.
Can you hear me now? Sorry. Check, check.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, my thanks, Ansel. That'll be agreeable. I can see why your people look to you for guidance. You're even and fair-handed, though have not kept all safe from the wiles of whatever evil lurks below this place. Your man Philip was compelled and enthralled with, or enchanted with magic. And these people here are on the edge of languish.
Most of these people, they're peasants. They come from nothing. They've wandered here out of hope, of a haven for forlorn. We do what we can. Of all the people here, almost none of them have any training. The few that do have little of it. I'm lucky to have more than they.
How came by your
We just
training?
survive here.
What training did you get? Where were you before this? You bear Gawain's steel, though you obviously have no oath to them if I find you here in this place.
I had oath to them, but I guess I don't anymore.
You broke your oath
Yes, I used to live there.
or forswore it?
Yes, I did.
I know the heavy burden of forswearing expected oaths.
That's why I fled and came here. Better than there.
She'll wonder at that a moment and let the silence of her wonderment try and pervade the man.
And I'll kind of like look expectantly, as if like waiting, for that to like disqualify conversation. Like we won't deal with an oath breaker or whatever. And then that sentiment at least not expressed verbally. After some time of waiting and watching in silence. So I guess that makes me the de facto leader around here. At least I know a little bit. I can read. I can fight.
How quaint.
That qualifies a great many for leadership in some parts, and you've done well by these people, and so they don't starve even in this place where life must surely be hard. I'm sure that is in no small part to you, and maybe even to Philip, who has a sort of loyalty.
Yes, well, we don't all have 1,000 years to do with what we please, so we have to make do. He'll look at you, Ammon, as he says that.
Yeah, Ammon will smile, rather unsettlingly. I feel that it's likely that you have not applied the full force of your power, even in the few years that you have, else you would not have forsworn your oath.
And I'm sure you've lived a full life of perfect honesty.
We are all
I
of
do
us
not lie.
imperfect and just have one life each to do with what we can.
Your man Philip is from House Gawain also.
Yes, he is.
You fled Gawain together?
I guess you could say that. I was on my way out. Um, he was on hard times. So he came with me, hoping that we could find something else here. That is the extent of it. He's a good man.
I've heard Gawain is a hard man, but a good man. Why break your oath to him?
The way things are set up around here, you're either born into good blood or you lick their boots and do what they say. I was sick of that. I'm sure you've heard of the mercenaries of Gawain, their skill. It's true, they're quite remarkable. We were, when I was among them. But it is slavery. Do not let their proud stature and posture deter you from that. They go into
Better to
battle and
rule in
shed their
hell.
blood under command of death. I did not want that life anymore. I was tired of being told to go die. So I took my skill elsewhere and decided to live of my own accord.
Ammon will say in Elvish, I would have considered offering this man a place, but he has already broken an oath because he does not like to serve. Cannot use him.
Yeah, my thoughts as well.
They'll kind of exchange a confused glance, hearing the strange language pass before him, but he won't verbally mention it. No, it's clear that he'll kind of eye you warily.
These people serve you, or at least listen to you by choice. That's something. Perhaps even admirable that you have convinced these people to follow you. But this place belongs to the lady now, and all of those within it. It's best for everyone that you get on board with this idea.
So that's your intention then? You come here under the guise of being one of us, and then you take it anyways?
I'm not in the habit of negotiating with people like you. It is clear that you are outmatched in every possible way. And though I have a great many years before me, I do not like to waste time.
And the exemplars would have the most grievous sinners amongst you hung at the bridges of their order. For the many crimes I'm sure that there are those guilty and innocent of in these ranks. But I would have you people rather than scour you. That's why we negotiate, Ansel. And it is not a guise that we come as one of you. We are truly exiled and forsaken ourselves by luck and fate and by the treachery of our enemies.
Ammon will do like a dramatic eye roll, though it's really just for Ansel's benefit, and like look to Victyria like, though he agrees with what she's saying, but it's useful to have Ansel think that she's making this decision against the elf's will, and so he's going to try and play that up.
And will not.
So then what would you have us... Sorry, you go.
I know. I'll, if I sense that he's about to speak, I'll wait. Like silence is best sometimes in these situations.
So then what would you have me do? You say if we stay here, that my men will be hung as sinners, and you will take this place, you'll tell us to serve you and command over us, as lords are wont to do. I guess I cannot blame you for following your instinct. It's in your blood to give orders. But what? We go out to the wilderness then? To leave? Hope we don't starve? Hope the storms don't come and wash us out?
If that is the wish.
You seem intent on this place.
Yes, we've sworn oaths with the Border Watch over it to reclaim it from ruin and to see it as an outpost for this house until our true one can be reclaimed, upon which time the Border Guard will take hold of this hold fast, that they may extend their strength to our realms, our kingdom's borders. So if people do not wish to stay here under the hospice and hospitality of this house, then they are free to go wherever they please.
You call this hospitality? You come here and threaten us and tell us that you have taken control? That is not hospitality.
We have made no single threat and have no control over this place. That is why you are here with us.
Your elf has told us that our men will be hung by your clerics.
No, that was
His very presence is a threat.
yeah.
Do not act
With
as
the
if it's not.
chantry, I think it's because of the reputation of thievery and sinnery in the place that I was like going with the angle of that, not trying to threaten them that Yosef right here is going to try and hang sinners. Just thought I'd make that clear.
Yeah, I think that the fear is still there. Like having seen like two of the order there and having it like just have been mentioned at all is still kind of like he is like,
Imminent.
even if it's not objectively a threat, like he is taking it as a threat, regardless.
Just everyone here has been free to come there as their will and make their place. Some to serve, and some like Martin to scout, others to advise, like Philip, and people like you, Ansel, to lead, and have come and imparted your will upon this place and taken from it your pleasure and your luck and chance, just as we are doing. If that is threats, if you name it threats, then let it be threats. I would rather have it companionship and greater community than what those who have come and left have found of this place. Whatever secret or magic lurks below must be expunged by the church. It is the will of my exemplar. We'll see it done in oaths to the border watch. Will you stand with us, or will you have us leave this place and further engagement between us to fade?
I spent a lot of time trying to get away from nobles, from their rule. Made a lot of sacrifices. I know if we were to resist you here that we would die. I like lock eyes with Ammon as he says that. So I will not resist. But unless you compel me by force to stay, I will not stay either. Many of us here live here because we get away from oaths and service. We can live of our own accord. If you will let us go, then we will go. But I will not serve.
Where would you go? Where could you go?
We could probably scrounge enough to head east to the border. They say it's a wild land out there, but that sounds appealing in a way.
I have been. It is not appealing.
I get the sense that little is appealing to you.
You would be surprised.
Perhaps.
It's true, to be driven from this place, House Gawain might clutch you, punish you for your oath breaking. East is a sensible choice in your position.
When will you have us leave then, to be out by, if we will not serve you?
Whenever you wish, stay as long as you like. I would rather that you stay than go.
I'll need to think on it, to speak with some of the others. I'm sure they'll understand if I must delay an answer.
In the courtyard, Yosef, having given over the currency of hard bread, will look around at the eating crowd. Some small sliver of camaraderie in just the sharing of food brought about, and he can get a sense of perhaps having offered these morsels, the extent of the population that existed here. I mean, perhaps some still hang back, but he'll assume if they're hungry, they've come out of hiding.
Yeah, at this stage, most of the people here have kind of begun to wander around back, especially for food and you would be slightly less wary. Uh, you can take whatever around.
So number one, the fighting force, starting to watch, untrustworthy. So just taking notice of that, but he'll also ask, "Who here has abided? Abode? Who here has sheltered here longest and knows the tales of what lurks below this fortress, or has seen shapes in the gloom, the twilight gloom, or in the darkest times of night?" And he'd probably look to some of the older people, which doesn't necessarily mean they've been here the longest, but more inclined to share of their tales, their wisdom, perhaps.
You hear a voice call from behind you, from a person you didn't even know was there. He must have quietly slipped in behind your vision. Um, I've been here for a while. As you turn around, you'd see a man who looks to be perhaps not the great old age that you would expect from someone who had been here for a long time. He's probably in his young 30s, if anything. Couple years. What do you want?
I hear that there are stairways barricaded and stories that there is a darkness beneath this place that is best not to disturb. I would hear if there are tales, proof, some evidence, half seen in the night or glimpsed in dreams, even though it may be. I would get the shape of this evil. Here we tackle it.
This man would walk up, begin to approach you, to walk pretty close. You would see he's more so well armed than the other people. Not in the sense that he has greater weaponry, but just in this numbers, but just the quality of his sword is higher. His clothing is not fine, but in better condition and is of sturdier make than most of them.
Well,
Walk up and sorry.
hang on, before he gets too close, knowing that we've already met one individual under enchantment, I think I would be particularly vigilant against any kind of attack. So I at least have my staff in my left hand, even if my sword is sheathed. But I'll be looking out for any signs of violence.
Yeah, and you had made a mention of keeping watch out for perhaps the shadier people among them, and this guy would definitely sort of ring bells in your head in that direction, very much so. He seems to have sort of a straighter gaze than the others, more focus, more attentive. But he would approach until he was inches from you, and he would whisper, um, "No one will admit it, but you know how they say people come and go here pretty quickly. Some of them I know didn't leave. People disappear. Some of them, it's because they go other places. The boss will tell you everybody goes other places. Some of them I never seen leave. The scouts never seen leave. They're not here.
And you believe something preys upon them? And I lock eyes with this guy. And I just want to get a sense if there's any kind of deception or ulterior motive.
Yeah, if you want to make an insight.
Oh my god, that's another good roll. So good. Oh, too far zoomed out of my character sheet. Hang on a sec. 22.
Yeah, so you get the sense that if this guy like wanted to weave like clever words to trick you, he probably could. But he, at least in this case, does not seem to be doing so.
Yeah, I
And
think.
he'll like look at you right in the eyes, Yosef, and I'll kind of like tap on your religious sigil. If one was displayed openly, I'm sure there would be one somewhere on your person.
Probably the staff itself, like the badges of the exemplar are the staff, the sword, the iron circlet, and the cloak.
And you know what? And like look at you with like an almost sinister but not quite look. It's hard to like imagine it being possible. Most of them are people like you that go, not quite of this power, people of your order, believers. They're the ones who don't show up again.
And I would hazard a guess that is why you yet survive.
Perhaps.
Well, and what think you of the changes afoot? We would seek to raise this place up. Though I know some prefer the shadows and the ruins and the cracks. Would you see this place restored to become the seat of a house? A new chance?
He'll just kind of like roll his eyes. A lot of people here aren't much for taking orders, especially from people like you. The way I see it, we'd all be better off if you guys just went on your way and we could carry on. But I don't get the sense that we'll be so lucky.
No one built fortresses for outlaws. If you wish to stay outside the law, then there will be no place for you here. Though I am not so naive to know one man's law does not always equal another's. And you'll stand up, adopting the authoritative posture of an exemplar. But there is one law which all must follow. And he won't say what that law is, but because he's there to exemplify it.
This man will just kind of give a light pat on your shoulder and turn away and just say, sleep well. Hope you don't suffer the same fate as the others. And just kind of like shrug and turn away.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll just watch him go. And I guess he'll say to himself, I am not one to sleep in shadow. And I think at that he would go off to find Amon and Lady Victyria.
It wouldn't take
Uh,
much to find them. Sorry, you go.
I was just going to say that Amon's intention would be that when Ansel goes to do whatever he's going to do in the deciding time, Amon would like say to Victyria that he's going to follow, and I would cast invisibility on myself and just follow behind Ansel and listen to all of his conversations and watch what he does. It lasts for an hour.
Yeah, she'll nod,
Yeah.
stand up and go to like an arrow slit and just look down on the courtyard.
Like I don't want to be like
So
right
you'd
on
be
top
able,
of him, but I want to be able to, I'm invisible and like can move quietly enough not to be noticed. So I would just like stay within earshot of him at all times, see where he goes, watch what he does, who he talks to, what he says, that kind of thing.
yeah, you'd see initially he like telling some of the people near to like start gathering everybody that he wants to talk to, them. Um, and word would kind of begin to spread, and he'd kind of like wait and kind of chit chat with the small people that were there until like the full lot of the attendants here could be assembled. But in the meantime, Victyria, you'll see Yosef coming through the entryway down below, looking about. And then Yosef, you'd be able to find Lady Victyria. She'd be alone. Surprisingly, Ammon would not be there. And Ansel has already gone off to gather his ensemble.
My lady, we have shared what food we have with those that struggle here. And I'll give a rough estimate of how many bodies presented themselves, and then followed by another estimate of which of those are combatants. And say, how goes it with Ansel?
Regrettably, it seems he'll leave this place and seek his fortune in the wild east. I suspect several others will follow him. He seems well liked, though he is a malleable fellow and an oathbreaker, and is bent again. As she'll continue looking at the arrow slit, did you learn anything from those folk?
As far as they can be trusted. One who has been here a while says, Ansel mentioned that many come and go, and he said that yes, many come, but fewer leave.
What was this man's name?
I did not get it, my lady.
You should. And he suspects that Ansel kills or makes disappear certain individuals.
That's one possibility. He said they often are the faithful that leave
We
this
should
place.
fear, perhaps, for we are all, are we not, faithful?
It could also be the working of some... If there is a force below that can influence the minds of men, I would wonder if there is not some cult, some following up here.
You
Yet
must uproot it, sir.
though I did not detect the hand of evil upon them.
We should have Master Aemon check that man for the hand of magic. As Philip was ensorcelled, he currently observes, she'll say after a pause, Ansel, who is in preparation to finalise our negotiation. If there were to be treachery, it would be now, and if what this knave, nameless knave, has told you has any merit in it, then Amon, if it's possible, maybe in some form of small danger. If you can locate him, perhaps you should.
And yourself, lady, you would be the first they would take hostage.
More
I will
fool them.
I will see you back to the courtyard first. Amon has his own protections, and I will go after you are delivered back to. So Volta, is it?
She'll say,
Your body.
I'm safest here by this corridor and arrow slit, and I can observe much in the courtyard and from the keep further in. But my thanks for your concern.
Yep. He'll sort of smile and nod at this. The confidence of Lady Victyria seems to be building. Again, trying to push away those ideas of her as a younger than she is. Very well, my lady. He also spoke that these things happen in the cover of night. We should look both to the more obvious danger of these men working to keep what is theirs, but also be wary of this. You've kind of tapped the staff against the floor. What abides below?
What would you have me do then? Those whom we mistrust, hang them?
It seems a poor end of a noble gesture so far.
Far ignobler would be to be slaughtered in our sleep by the naivety of a girl.
We can compel from them an oath.
Oaths hold no sway in these hills.
Yes, but I shall know if they ring true or false.
Your circle of faith. You could judge them there.
But there is the option that this would also force violence. At least that way we would not feel we have judged them as an inconvenience, for they would condemn themselves with their own hand. Perhaps if we are able to deliver them from the influence of what is below, we would find it easier to convince them. I don't know, my lady. There are definitely hard men amongst them who no doubt have committed crimes most grievous. For not all outlaws and exiles have been unfairly made so.
Perhaps stay with me then, and we shall go down to the courtyard and our folk.
An oath
Master
that we,
Amon is capable enough, and he will watch Ansel and see him for what he is, if he has not already appeared so.
and I would go down into the darkness sooner rather than later, but of course we must be wary of what lies at our backs. At least we have the border guard here to maintain order. If some few of us, Amon, yourself, Eckhart, and myself.
We
go
should
down.
wait, all of us together till Amon and Ansel return, and after that is dealt with, then we'll delve.
Very well, my lady.
And she wonders what Amon is seeing and hearing.
Yeah, so Emin, you've been able to follow Ansel down. It'll be a couple minutes before all the available people will actually be gathered. And Victyria, you'll see like through the slit as you watch, like some of the people like others will approach some of the people in the courtyard mingling with your folk, like whisper something in their ears, and then they'll like all stand up to leave, go attend, assuming this meeting. And after a time, and you'll see kind of the majority of them gathered outside of some of the scouts and so on, or perhaps those who are out hunting or searching for food. Um, there's about 36 people here or so, if you were to count, and I'm sure Ammon would. And once everyone's gathered, and some time is set for them to be quieted down, Ansel will kind of like stand up and begin like walking around the group of everyone kind of just sitting. Well, it seems, unfortunately, friends, that the lady and her crew come here to take this place. As much as I have enjoyed my time here, I am not here to serve nobility. I've done that. It was terrible. I do not want to do it again. That is why I came here in the first place. Though I know I am among the more fortunate in terms of reasons to come here. Others of you are not quite so lucky. But as much as I like you, and some of you even trust you, we cannot win a fight against them. Where we have commoners and thieves, they have soldiers and elves. If we fight, we will die. And that is all there is to it. I think all that's left, for me at least, is to leave. To head east. Anywhere else will be my end. If I stay here, if I go back, there's nothing for me. There's nothing for you, at least most of you. I will make no demands, nor do I have the authority to. If you are fond of this lady, her generosity, or at least supposed generosity, it very well may be a front. Or perhaps I'm just too cynical. You can stay. You can go wherever. I'm not going to tell you what to do or why. Anyone who wants to go with me, I'd be glad to have your company. Otherwise, it's been an honor. And there'll be kind of grumblings about from the other people, like what, where do we go? Oh, maybe it's not so bad. Just kind of mixed opinions from others. And you'll notice Ammon more clearly than others. One man who, out of in a meta sense, we'll see is the same person that Yosef had been talking to, but you do not know who this man is. Will look like furious that Ansel would give up this place so easily, and he'll just kind of grit his teeth and clench his jaw. But he won't say anything yet. Ansel will continue. So I'm going to tell the lady that I'm going to leave, and that perhaps some of us will go as well. But if you'd like me to tell her that you'll go with me, she's mentioned that she will grant us passage, that she will not slaughter us or force us into undue servitude. I'd like to believe her. At least I hope I'm not a fool for doing so. The rest of you, I'll leave to your choice.
And before you make
And
it,
then,
Joseph will look to Lady Victyria and stride forward and say, perhaps we could make things perfectly clear.
oh, this is happening away from Victyria and Yosef. This is like in a different place that Ammon has followed. Sorry.
Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
Armon's watching this.
Yeah, Ammon is
Um,
invisible under magic and is eavesdropping on this conversation. But you guys are not present. Sorry. I probably could have been more clear. So what about it? You'll see a couple of the men will like immediately stand up and look. If you're going, then we'll go. They'll say. There's probably about 12 of the 38 people will like immediately stand. Another couple will start to like grumble and sit while they sit. And Ansel will walk over to a couple of the others. There's probably they're kind of like have sat away from the others, not quite in the same group. And he'll just say, "You folk, you should stay." And I'll tell those people specifically that they should not leave, and they'll like nod in agreement with him. And I'll tell them that it's better for them to be here than to wander the wilds that they have. It seems to be that these are like the most downtrodden and least skilled of them, that it would be difficult for them to survive a journey to somewhere else. It'll basically kind of continue until finally it seems like people have made obvious choices. And then he'll let them know that he'll go to tell the lady what's been made, what decision has been made. And you can either continue to follow or wait, Amen. I'm not sure what you would do.
I'm torn between following the angry man and following Ansel, but I think I'm just going to stick with Ansel. If it becomes the case that he actually does go to Victyria, then I will try and go back and find that angry man and sneak around with him for a while.
Yeah, it seems like that he's just going to go straight back. Like he's much more of sort of a practical business, just all business sort of man. Like the decision has been made and he wants to pass it on.
Yeah, I'll just make sure
So
I'll just follow him until like Victyria is in sight, and then I'll double back to see if I can find this pissed off man.
Yep, he would go back to Victyria. Victyria, you would see him come back. And Ammon, you'd be able to go back down to follow around this other man. And a lot of the crowd has begun to kind of disperse to go back to their duties or whatever they were doing in the meantime. But this man would kind of continue among some of those who like didn't immediately stand. They're kind of all still sitting there, kind of with this just like, well, what do we do? Sort of silence hanging over them. Until this person will just kind of like kick at a piece of rubble on the ground, send it like going into the wall. It's bullshit. He'll say to the others, and they'll kind of like shrug in lukewarm agreement. We live here for years, just trying to get by, to get away from people like them, and they come here anyways. It's not right that they can just come here and take it. They have a fucking elf and a couple men with swords. I'll kind of like sit down next to the others who are all kind of grumbling. What do we do? And they'll all just kind of like, do we go with Hansel and just give up? At the very least, if we're going to leave, we should leave with something. There's a couple supplies here. We might be able to take it and get out with it before anybody catches. And they'll all just kind of like look tepidly, but then kind of as he continues to just like, okay, yeah, we can go make it on our own. We've survived before this place. We'll survive after it. I'm sure there's plenty of roads that we could set up on. Find people to come across, take what we can, and find a new place.
I'm gonna reveal myself this time, just like.
Immediately, they'll their feet, like weapons out, like eyes wide in the horror. It's like literally materialized in front of them. and so immediately just be like, "What the fuck?" As weapons are drawn. And they all kind of like look at you.
I'll just like raise a hand, not like threateningly, just like up to the side. It was my understanding that people came here to start a new life. In my world, a long time ago, we would maim thieves, cut their hands off. We would cut the tongues from liars. I do not like thievery. It is dishonest. Your intention is to steal. Steal from us. I will tell you now that if this comes to pass, there is nowhere on this earth that you can hide from me. That I will find you no matter where you go. And then I will do terrible things to you. Do you understand me?
Yeah, there's this sort of like baffled silence across the group. Just this insane portrayal that's come out of nowhere. But finally, the man who seemed to have orchestrated this plan say, "Look, we'll just go. We won't have any trouble."
You are going to go and become a highwayman, a bandit, and you will steal from others, and that is something I cannot tolerate.
Well, not all of
Do you-
us have jobs and lives we can just go back to.
Do you understand that I can read your mind, that I am in your thoughts, that I am everywhere, that I can see all things? You're lying to me. The options remaining to you are for me to turn you into dust, or for you to serve.
The lesser among them, everyone except for the sort of ringleader figure, will just immediately like drop everything that they're holding and like cower in fear. They won't speak, but you know it's out of submission and fear, and not out of defiance. The other man will take a bit longer before he'll like let the short blade in his hand just fall to the ground and just like shake his head.
There is still defiance in you. I can smell it. Neil, you.
And he'll just kind of like look and like shake his head, not out of resistance, but just out of like this is bullshit. But he will kneel and then he'll just look up. And he'll just like stare you right in the eyes, but he'll still kneel.
Do you see, all of you, how I can humble you with no effort? Do you understand that I'm above you in all ways? This will always be the case. There will never be a time when I cannot kill you, when I cannot erase you from existence. Understand this. The exemplar is not here. He is not always around. And he'll like smile, sort of wolfishly. But I see all things. I hear all words you speak.
It'll just be like a furious, subjugated silence. Like they're all clearly like angry at this fact, but no one will like dare to even word it. It would be obvious on their face, like how quickly like their vision of their life has changed. How merely seconds ago they were expecting to like leave in the night to go off to other places, and now suddenly within 3 minutes, they've gone from that understanding of their life to like this elf, who is now unguarded by the one thing that's meant to like stop him from tyrannizing them, is not here and has like commanded them to like live as essentially slaves to him. But they'll all respect the fear, or at least the rumors that they would have heard of people like you, though they've probably never actually seen it. It's been set enough into their brains from stories that they won't dare to resist.
The lady will offer you a chance to serve her, and you will not be slaves. And you will have a chance to redeem yourself. But I will not believe you when you swear that oath. I will not believe you when you try to lie. I will watch you until the very day of your death. It is clear to me that you understand your situation. If you leave this night, or any night, I will find you. Then he'll just turn on his heel and go.
Yeah, a couple of them will like kick angrily at whatever they can find on the ground or just into the air after you leave. But none will like make to leave or do anything rash. They're not complete idiots, and they've understood your commands. And as you go to meet back up with Yosef and Victyria, and now Ansel, who's ready to give his word, we'll go ahead and take a quick 5-minute break here before we'll wrap it up.
Sounds good.
All right, be back in a little bit.
Man, that was satisfying.
God. Can you imagine? You're just like sitting there with some buddies, like, all right, we'll make good. We'll get out of here. This will be fine. And literally in 5 seconds, an elf appears out of fucking nowhere and is like, you're going to do exactly as I say, or I'm going to turn you into something terrible.
Yep.
Like, what do you even do with that? It's so
Like-
terrifying.
Like, I mean, like Amon's powers are limited, but he like uses his limited powers to make it seem as if they are unlimited, you know? So like appearing from exactly when they're speaking, or like telling people he can read their thoughts, you know, that is true, but he's not always doing it. But like using those assumptions and fears that like people have, which makes a lot of sense to me. It's the kind of thing that I would do if I was a wizard. I'm like, don't you know I could turn you into a frog? You know?
Yeah, and it's like it's so easy to play off of the lack
Yeah,
of
the fear.
information. Like you can't say that to a wizard because they'll be like, well, you have to cast a certain spell to do that, and I can like see and hear you do that. But
Yeah.
these people don't know that. They're just dudes who have heard stories of these weird creatures that serve like the strongest people in the land and can like
Yeah.
do crazy shit.
And even like
So
giving
for
them the impression of like being everywhere, you know, so like appearing in front of them while they were talking. Like as soon as I said something guilt worthy, I'm like, here I am. I'm always here, you know, and like it reinforces those sort of like fears.
yeah, that's the kind of thing that, you know, later you hear them a couple of days of like, he wasn't even in the room and he heard us from like across the world and appeared here in an instant. Like it's so easy for it to become exaggerated.
Yeah.
As if you could like hear anything that happens in the castle at any time.
Yeah.
And can like teleport at will. Because to them that might as well have been what happened. Like they don't know
Yeah.
how or why you got there.
Yep. Pretty effective.
Yeah, it's funny to see like the immediate light switch change of Ammon like without Yosef and Victyria right there. To
Yep.
like have to like show appearances for. Which is like, oh,
Yeah.
the chains are temporarily off. Like there, or at least there's enough slack that they're not pulling me.
Yeah, and like the sort of elven tyranny like comes out again, like a knowledge of being superior, not even a sense of it, like a knowledge, a certainty of being superior, you know.
Yeah. And no magic, just the aura of magic, you know, was all you needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome. I have to leave you unchaperoned more often.
Yeah, I mean, even the threat of it is enough. You know, I was just saying to Jeff before you guys came back as well about like it's like Amon uses the fact that no one really knows what he can do as a weapon. You know.
Yes, work upon their fears. Yeah, that's good. Let's get down into
Yeah.
the basement, man.
Alrighty, so it looks like we're all back.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, let's do it.
So Victyria and Yosef, you'll see Ansel approach. His hands kind of held behind his back, as if both to like still show some semblance of self dignity and posture, but also to show that he is not coming with arms or any sort of anger. Will approach and say, uh, "Lady, we've made our decision.
What is it to be, Ansel?
Myself 11 of the others have decided to leave. In the morning, we will head east. There are some here, 7 or 8 folk, merely commoners. They came here out of desperation. They would not survive a journey. They would like to stay, if it pleases you.
All are welcome, and you need not leave at the dawn if you wish to stay longer.
I think it might be best for us to leave sooner than later.
And let us be entirely clear. If you do not wish to come in under the lady's protection, we shall give you a day's grace, and then all crimes committed within reach of this fortress shall be dealt with accordingly.
Is this true, lady? You'll follow us? You'll hunt us if we leave?
Only
I will
if...
not- I've given these people my leave. I will not persecute them. This Ansel has yielded this place without bloodshed, and so far is crimeless, as we see it.
Are my words misheard, Ansel? I spoke not of hunting you, but if crime is committed within our view, it shall be punished.
The exemplar says that there is law in this land now, and that is true. And Ansel and his 11 know it.
We will not stay in these lands. You'll no need to fear or expect anything from us. He'll say, with sincerity.
One of the small folk spoke of some concern that the faithful go missing in these parts, and not by their leave to the north or west, but disappear in this place itself. Do you know of this?
People around here come and go often. We don't always see him leave, but I kind of like shrug. I've heard stories, but never knew what to do with them.
Stay, and let us break bread tonight, and tomorrow you can depart in friendship.
He'll just give a nod. Thank you, lady, for your hospitality. And he'll like say as he goes to turn, and for not slaughtering us at the gate. I know you could have, but you didn't. For that, you have my respect.
She'll give a nod of respect back to the man.
I mean, you'll see Ansel pass by you on your way back. I'll kind of see and just give the slightest nod of his head before passing. And you'll rejoin back up with the others.
Yeah, my intention is not to stay long, but to follow him further. And I'll just basically to Victyria. Some of the men, I heard them speaking of thievery, stealing from us and leaving in the night to go and pursue a life of banditry. I have persuaded them not to pursue this, but this is the prevailing attitude here. And these people are criminals.
What would you advise, Master Amon?
I have told them that they will serve you. And I think that with Yosef's discipline, perhaps they could be redeemed.
Then see them into his care.
I'll nod. With your leave, I will follow Ansel. It's amazing what one can overhear.
Indeed, I look forward to you regaling me. Let us be vigilant and cautious tonight, and when those who choose to continue to be forlorn leave, we can delve deeper into the mystery of this place and see if we might strengthen our position here from that knowing.
Indeed, he'll say, and then he'll like make a hand gesture and vanish.
I think
yeah.
at that, Victyria would want to go, while Amon goes to spy on those folk. She wants to go to those who have said they'll stay and make them swear before the Glamorn Blade and the Holy Circle of Eosif, service to the house Rivkin.
Yeah, and there's a couple more. Even than Ansel had said, he had mentioned 7 or 8. But as word continues to kind of get around, when you make the call for those who have decided to say to come before you, there's about 15 who will do so. Most of them, about the 7 or 8, you assume that this would be the ones that Ansel had spoken of, look like commoners, some of them less than commoners, just like the bottom of the barrel. Not in terms of like honor, but just in terms of like the hand that they've been dealt.
Luck, yeah.
Yeah, they've had hard lives, and have like not come here out of like desire to get away, but merely because like they would die anywhere else for lack of means. But then there's also about 7 more. They'll have some of the sort of it's strange. They have like half the posture of a warrior, like as if they had been trained but had like fallen away from it. You think they might be deserters or something of that sort. They seem to like have been trained in battle, but like no longer lack the heart, no longer have the heart for it. And they would also be here. And yeah, Yosef, if you're gonna cast a zone of truth, it looks like you will. None of these people here, of these specific 15 who are here, will even try to save. They'll all fail intentionally, and you'll know that.
Right, as well. Yeah, he'll just stand by as a witness. It's the role of the exemplar in oath giving. And I mean, if Victyria is going to speak some words, or I forget his name, the guy we picked up at the river, I'll have him come and swear in with them as well.
Yeah, that's all.
And perhaps so he can be a bridge for. We probably haven't had him for that long, but at least maybe he's. If I think he'd be a good bridge for them to see how someone has cast their lot in with us and hasn't unduly suffered because of it. Anyway, it can be a nice example.
Yeah, have him and Amelia and everyone else there, and just draw the Glamorn Blade and have them swear an oath before it from within the circle, and then have them go after that in amongst the already existing Rivkin folk, and not like down like not mathematically, but kind of disseminate them amongst those people to be welcomed and like intend to share food that evening.
Yeah, they'll all swear within the circle that they'll serve you. There won't be any fuss about it.
And we've got a priest with us, right? I might get
Yep.
him. He's probably a lettered man to take down their names and also prior occupation.
Orland. Yeah, good call.
Prior occupations, and if they're hesitant about prior occupations, we might let them be vague enough to list skills.
What about
So
the ones that Armon had cowed? Are they amongst the 15?
No, they have not. They were not.
Present for that?
Are we able to make them be present?
Yeah, those are just the people who Ansel specifically said would like gladly and willingly join.
Okay.
Who had been rounded up.
Cool.
Well, anyone who hasn't sworn, particularly the group, they can be. Is there a place that's secure to put them under lock and key for the night? Or at least I would offer that to Victyria, that if they haven't sworn and they've even, like, we know Armon's at least spoken to them, but until they swear, they're.
We should just go persecute them now. Not persecute them. We should go and approach them now.
Yeah, you'd be able to find them and bring them. I just wanted to like resolve the like willing people.
Yeah,
First,
cool.
who like were obviously and like without any hesitation or ill will.
Yeah, those ones by name or description that Armon spoke of, we'll go and seek them out with Iosif.
Yeah, so out of those people, then, Yosef, you'd be able to enlist Corland, who is the priest that came with you, with Victyria. 7 of them were in fact deserters. They had served in military from other houses and have like fled during battle, and were like exiled from the places that they had served, and have like come here for respite. Most of the commoners were basically just like beggars. Some of them were laborers of sorts, like farm hands and things like that. Not necessarily like skilled men, but at least have had some amount of uh, work experience, if you could call it that.
Well, farmers is what we're going to be needing.
Yeah, and then you would be able to also summon the people that Ammon had spoken with, um, who will approach as well, uh, with much less enthusiasm than the 15 who would come before.
Do I know the names of them? If not, can I ask their names and kind of look to the one who they, by body language, defer to as like who speaks for them or their leader?
Yeah, so the one that Ammon had overheard sort of ringleading,
Yeah,
we'll say that his name is Ernest.
cool. And the guy, if it's possible, the guy who he was trying to, what's the word, persuade the most out of that coterie of potential bandits, like the one, I guess, who he was trying to get in that would make the others fall in as well. Could I get his name, or by just asking all of their names? I'm just mainly interested in those two, Ernest and like the other, the second.
Yeah, the other, his name is Jacob.
Cool. She'll smile and introduce herself and commit their names and the others to memory. She'll say, Master Amon tells me that you men prize yourselves at skill in the woods and upon roads against the foe. Is that true?
They'll kind of exchange glances between each other, and then like come to the conclusion that it's foolish to lie. And they would even like look around, not seeing Aemon there, but would still be on edge. Like they've already seen him materialize once before, and will like think that he's like right there listening, even though he's not. The fear of his power, casting sway over them, even outside of his influence. And Ernest will not be the one that speaks. It will be Jacob who will say, "We came here as nothing more than criminals. It's all we know. If we can't live here, we meant to go out and resume our past experiences. But apparently, it's no longer the case. And that we are meant to stay here, or the elf will do terrible things to us."
He has divined a perilous path in your future should you choose a continued life of sin. And she'll give her like a flicker of her left eye to like one corner of the room, like giving away her shot like a footballer would. But obviously Armon is not here, but she wants to give them the impression that she's relying on him in the corner and gaining confidence from that.
Yeah, given what's already happened, the ruse is hardly even necessary. To them, that he might as well be like everywhere, always. He might as well be omnipotent. To them, apparently we're meant to stay here to serve you, to do what you say. or else he will exact his retribution on us for what we've done, or at least have claimed that we will do.
The doom he prescribes is hardly less than what you would get from banditry itself in these lands. Would you turn your back on your criminal past and seek a better way forward?
Don't have much of a choice, do we?
You have a choice. You can leave to a certain future or stay to an uncertain one.
Hardly a choice.
You have my honor and pledge that you'll leave this land in safety and in friendship if you give me cause to continue my friendship towards you.
And
If you would stay, I would have you equipped in better garb than this, and with stout bows and good provisions to see you in the woods, watching upon the road for my foe and yours, if you'd swear, turn aside crime for a life of loyalty and oaths of meaning. You could apply your skills to mine own forces. The skills that you use in sin can be used to redeem yourself in valorous deed.
One of the lesser men will just like kneel as if you had told him to, and will just like blurt out, "Better to be here than in the eyes of that elf. I'm scared of what he'd do." Um, and like a couple of the others will do the same until finally it's just like only Jacob and Ernest who are standing, and they'll just kind of like share a glance to each other, like, "Oh God." Um, but eventually they too um will kneel and swear um that they'll serve you. Though the defiance and like anger in their expression has like not yet faded. It's still too like recent of a pride injury that Aemon has dealt them for them to be like amicable. Uh, but the fear that he will come for them if they leave has struck them into subservience, at least for now.
While they're kneeling, she won't release them, and she'll turn to Iosif and say, "See them armed and well equipped and treated as our other soldiers. Train them thus. See if they can be redeemed and forged, reforged," she'll say, actually.
Very well, my lady. And he'll step forward and he'll put the staff of the exemplar on the kind of where the neck meets the shoulder of Ernest, and he'll say, "You look aggrieved, but you should thank the lady, for on the morrow you would surely have been hung for banditry. 'Tis only this day you have been given the grace to redeem yourself. And know," and you look up to the rest of them, "for each of your actions you shall be given equal measure reward, and such will be the same for any crime." And after that, he'll get them to stand up. I don't think we actually have any weapons or armor to give them, so I won't actually do that. But we'll let that hang as a promise for later on. Because I seem to remember all we gave to the other guys were quarterstaffs, right? Hewn from the wood.
We'll give them kitchen
you like
knives for now.
carved
Work our way
some
up.
out. Yeah,
But we do.
they have like basically like hunting gear, like small knives and bows, but no like formal weaponry. But that'll serve them for now. Under promise of better gear.
Yeah, and spotting Ernest as at least thinking himself quite clever, he'll start to get Ernest's take on strategies in the surrounding land, and also if there's any old forge they've come across around here. Things like that. So things of strategic value about this fortress. and giving some small weight to his knowledge as one of the shrewder members of the company.
Yeah, Victyria will leave Iosif to the men that have just freshly sworn, and she'll go off to find whatever the chambers can be sought for the people, so that they can have somewhere for the night in amongst the ruins and out of the weather. And she'll just find the company of Amelia and Mariah, and just await Armon and or Iosif that night.
Yeah, even the best rooms are very meager with what ruin the place is in. It's hard to find a place that has all the walls still all up. But you can sort of find the places that aren't quite as bad to get some of your folk to begin to settle in for the afternoon and into the night. In the meantime, Ammon, you followed again under invisibility, Ansel, and you would see him, at least so far, just honestly, him and his men gathering their supplies, preparing what needs to be prepared for them to leave. They don't speak much outside of pragmatic concern of, gather this, bring this here, pack this up into that, and sort of just small talk. There seems to be a general expression among them of mild displeasure of yeah, this kind of sucks that we have to do this. But no grand plot or dark secrets will be shared openly.
Cool. I'll just watch them until there's 3 minutes left on my invisibility, and then I'll walk away and become visible again. Which is for an hour. Basically, I'll watch them.
Yeah, so you'll see them pack up a lot of their supplies, preparations being made. The food that they have here, that's theirs by share, they'll take, but no extra portions, nor any of your own supplies from your group. They seem to be honoring their agreement to the letter, from what you'll see.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. And is there anything else through the late afternoon and evening into night that you guys would like to do? The castle will be yours to set up at this stage.
Yeah, just kind of have to cover it, but just moving amongst the people and speaking with them, spending time and eating dinner amongst them, and just trying to foster friendliness in the place after the extreme takeover. But yeah, solace in the quarters later on that night, and that's it.
Yosef would just try and get as much rest early as he can, so he can stand vigil tonight.
Yeah, you can get some sleep during the afternoon. It won't be ideal sleep. It'll probably be disturbed more than you'd like. Maybe people going in and out and getting supplies moved and places set up. But it'll be enough to be rested.
Ammon would put some magical wards in place. Certainly on wherever we're sleeping. Would ritually cast alarm, but I also put magic mouth on the area around the pit. So go near it, or the door that enters into the room where it is, or the stairs. Have a magic mouth that will just shout very, very loudly if anyone approaches.
So as evening begins to go into night, Yosef, you find yourself in House Rivkin, in a dream, apparently. But the room is the throne room, where Lady Victyria's father sat, is empty. The entire room is like covered in flames. You can like see the smoke rising up, like filling the top of the like huge arched roof. The tapestries like burning away, and Lord Rivkin, sitting in the throne, is like sitting stoically, like watching it burn around him. As you're like standing in the center of it, he doesn't acknowledge you or say anything. Nor does he take any action despite the fire that's like burning. It's as if he doesn't even seem to notice that it's on fire.
Yeah, Yosef, in it is he's flashing back, I guess, to the situation as it unfolded, and as he seeks to go forward, he's calling out, and yet there seems to be no volume to his words. And each time he goes to move forward, as if to rescue the patriarch of House Rivkin from his fate, the flames seem to flare up higher. And strange faces glimpsed, strange elven faces glimpsed in the flames as they raise up an impenetrable barrier, which seemed to push him back with force almost, not just heat alone. He struggles to call out, to rouse his friend.
Yeah, even everything you shout just seems to like fall into the smoke to evaporate like nothing. Um, but somehow you find yourself moving against all effort. The further you go, it seems to like be more difficult to step. Until you approach, and when you approach, like the person who like sits on the throne is not Lord Drivkin. It's a person that you don't know, and like stand up and walk up to you. And as he does, you feel this like strange buzz in your body. Like you can feel your blood like circulating, like as if it were electric, like this like subtle shock that seems to course through you. With each heartbeat, you can feel it like bzz, bzz, against you. This like strange, like a mixture of anxiety and electric shock that seems to like flow around you as this like stranger walks towards you, and just gonna like turn his head a little bit as he looks at you, almost quizzically.
I think Yosef is seized by that paralyzing kind of incredulous moment that in a dream, yeah, like you're saying, seizes you. The electric, the electric shock of the unexpected, and yeah, the time slowing down, almost as if the story of a dream sequence has reached some unexpected crossroad and pauses. And his mouth drops open, and a whisper escapes, even in this inferno. It's, "Who are you?" And he would seek to place this person in some kind of context, relevance, thinking he was dear friend, his fallen lord, but now seeing that it is someone else entirely.
Yeah, you look up, and this time when you look, like even though like it feels like you had been looking at him the whole time, suddenly like it's as if you blink, and it's different. And you see this like strange twisted figure, like wreathed, and just it's impossible to know what. Um, it seems to be like every color, but also black and like nothing, and everything everywhere. Like the smoke itself in the building seems to be the same thing. And he'll just like reach forward, like put a hand on your shoulder, and like another hand kind of across sideways at your chest, and you like look down, and you'll see that you're bleeding from where your heart would be, blood running down your armor openly as you see a hole, and it'll just like pool the blood in his hand from your chest and bring it up to his mouth and sip at it as if water from a fountain, and just kind of like nod. You'll feel that like electric shock pulse keep moving every time it pounds. More blood will pound and like pump from your chest.
I think at the like realizing this travail and this hole in his chest, like a weakness overcomes his limbs, and he'll begin to falter, like sagging against the staff that he still holds even in the dream, and he'll look up at this darkness that somehow contains all colors and yet swallows them and vomits them forth again, seething mass on the edge of perception. And he will look up. As always, his strength and his succor is to be found in the promise of the Savior. And he'll call out to the Savior, who is the conduit, the avatar of the unknowable, ineffable God, who came and liberated them from suffering. And Savior, deliver me from darkness. Deliver me from ignorance. And his hand will fumble for his sword, which perhaps at first he feels as if it's not even there.
You hear a voice like echo as if in your head. You're not sure if it's this thing or something else, or perhaps even the savior that you call for. You just hear the words, "Guard your blood, keep it close." And then before you answer, you like jolt awake, perhaps in fear, startled, perhaps calmly, and it'll be up to you to say. But suddenly the image is gone, and one of the other people, Brant, the young smith, will like see you startle awake, and he'll kind of look at you. Are you okay?
Brant, there is a darkness here indeed. I guess it's still early evening, is it? If I tried to rest.
Yeah, it's like getting to night.
And I think he'll climb to his feet, and he'll go to a water barrel and grab a ladle of water and like splash it on his face, and hooking it back on the edge, he'll kind of lean over, looking down into the hazy, unsettled reflection of his face. It will be an uneasy night tonight. The morning cannot come quick enough. He'll say that softly. Perhaps Brent can overhear it. And then standing up, he'll go to reclaim his exemplar staff and get dressed. Nose
Yeah,
emblem.
Brent will kind of like as you're just like gathering your things, kind of his eyes will kind of like narrow and he'll like look at you. Did you cut yourself while we were moving supplies? And I'll kind of like point down, and you like won't even notice. And like across your chest in like a horizontal line, there'll be like a bit of blood.
Yeah, he'll freeze for a moment, looking at it, like lifting up his armor as he was ready to, his gambeson probably, some undergarment, padded undergarment, and drop it down again. You say, you look up at Brant and say, yes, perhaps that's it. Perhaps. I shall take guard tonight, Brant. See if you can spend some time on vigil yourself. On the morrow we must cleanse this place. But until then, doubt every shadow, Brant. Even that within yourself. And he'll lay a finger against his chest. Especially.
Brant will like look surprised, confused at the words. They seem to like have come out of nowhere to him, but he'll just kind of eventually just like nod his head. Of course, Exemplar. I'll keep watch and I'll be extra careful.
Good. Yeah, I need to get dressed. I need to probably seek out Armon, knowing he's not going to be sleeping anyway. To see, probably tell him a little of the dream and that, yeah, this thing is reaching out. I guess he would just seek him out, and then I can tell him.
Yeah, at this stage, most people have kind of settled into the castle. It's getting to like the very edge of night. Darkness is beginning to take hold outside. So it wouldn't take much effort to find Ammon, unless he was out on his own somewhere.
No, I don't think so. He'd be awake, kind of keeping vigil as best he can.
Something reaches up from the depths below. I had a dream, and here he'll kind of adjust his armor, where he can still feel the sting of that cut across his chest. And yet, something more so. Truly, Armon, I don't know what it is we face below, whether it is an elf of ages past that has succumbed to darkness, and you'll suppress a shudder, you get something perhaps worse still.
Ammon will like close his eyes for a moment and then open them again. There are many old things in this world that could harm you through the dream is troubling. We should not tarry. We should move on this thing, whatever it is, sooner than later.
I think perhaps you're right. We should not give it a night to work its desperate magics upon our folk. If it can reach even through the will of an exemplar, there are many more that are much more vulnerable to its magical workings. Let us take this to Lady Victyria.
Agreed.
The owl in her chamber will look up at the approach, and so she'll go to the door to open it just as you're a couple of steps from it. And though the hour is late, she's still awake.
Yeah, Joseph will step in. dressed for battle almost. Probably as he has been for many weeks now. Dark dreams have woken me, my lady. I believe whatever shadows dwell below are reaching.
As
We
they
should
may have for Philip,
Sorry, what was that?
as they did with Philip. Maybe it's the same hand reaching up.
He'll draw a line across his chest and say, I dreamt that something drank at my blood and woke with a cut, even so, upon my chest.
You suspect some spirit cut you in the night?
All I know is the wound matched the dream.
We should not linger until the morning, and must trust in our people to safeguard our back while we go against this malign spirit.
Mechanically, I'd love a long rest because I've used a huge amount of my spells.
There is no time.
So I might say something like, though it may only be symbolic, to go in the light of day, the sun shines bright, may be more effective against this creature of darkness.
True, true. Though the folk spoke of its magic being dealt through the night. Isn't that right, Joseph? The men you spoke to anyway said that these disappearances and such occurred at night. Well, there was like a heightening of power then?
But they also said it seeks out the faithful, and I guess I'll pass a glance over to Amon, which might imply that he's doesn't come under that classification.
Amon's eyes will like open a little wider. What's it called? Orlan, the cleric.
Yep.
Corlett,
Orland,
yeah.
Corland. He'll
And
just say Corland, and we'll begin to move to wherever we think he is. So I don't know, like we know where he sleeps or whatever, but Amon begin like searching pretty quickly for this guy. He's worried that he's been taken.
And Eckhart too. And I'd probably move with Divine. Not sure. Is Divine Sense like instant, or does it have a? I'll check that up actually. At least when I encounter them, I would use Divine Sense to see if there's any shadow of evil over them. As an action. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's like a effect that like once you use it at that point, like immediately it happens. I don't think it's like an ongoing
Yeah, it's like
effect,
a
if I remember right.
Yeah, a glimpse.
Yeah.
But we need to get Eckhart and Corland together.
Yeah, it wouldn't take too much time to find Eckert. A little bit more to find Corland. But you'd be able to find him as well. And he would kind of like look at you guys concerned with like the sort of like sudden severity with which you've approached. Like not expecting for like the full three of you to have appeared so late at night when everyone's caring to sleep. Is there a problem?
Dreams. Do you have any dreams?
I guess they probably haven't been to sleep yet, right?
Yeah, not yet.
Let's see. A difficult night ahead, my friends. I sought to rest early so I could watch over our company through the dark hours. And even then, a strange figure came into my dreams. And though it seemed a nightmare of sorts, he left his mark upon me even when I woke. A cut across my chest, and a voice warned me in the fading to guard my blood well. I would share this with others, claim the mantle of faith, exemplar priest. For it seems we are a special target. I think he would look to Amon and say, usually our faith is protection enough, but I do not know how to protect against dreams, other than to act swiftly. If you wish to wait for the morning, I know not how to guard against such visitations.
There is little can be done against invasions of sleep. We should go sooner.
Maybe have them. Maybe have those faithful stand vigil over everyone while we descend, just us three, and like let them not have rest, so that they don't succumb, just in case while we're gone. Like have Amelia and Corland and Ekton stay awake and vigil rather than rest, so they're not attacked in dream state.
Corland, actually, you look around and you'll say, Brant, bring wood for a great fire in the courtyard and gather the people around. Corland, tonight shall be a vigil for you to read to the people of the lessons of the Savior. And read you shall till we emerge or the sun rises. So yeah, I want to like, because if Eckhart comes with us, but Corland, we'll keep him awake and he can intone. And so we've got the symbolic light of the fire to kind of keep people busy and give them some kind of focus, and also Corland intoning prayers of the Savior. Perhaps the more riveting ones with a bit of action.
With that being the plan, Amon will immediately find a quiet place and sit cross-legged and begin resting to regain his spells, like meditating and focusing to regain, and thinking about the kind of spells he might use in fighting something like this.
Yeah, Brant will get to work gathering some of the wood and going out to get some extra to make sure that there's enough for a fire big enough to get enough people around it that it needs to house. And then Corland will do as you say. He'll begin telling stories of the Savior, of the liberation of man, and what the Savior did to push that forward. Try to make it as interesting as he can to keep people awake and not to put them to sleep. So at this stage, who are you guys going to take with you, if anybody, outside of the three of you, who will not sleep or stay at this vigil?
Eckhart. I think the border guard are best up here defending against more mundane threats.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I feel like it should just be us three. Like, not because I think we're powerful enough to do it, but just because I think everyone else is too weak to bring that. It's going to be like we're going to be confounded by like moral quandaries of losing people and having them like tie us down, or like be needing to compromise ourselves to save them and stuff.
Yeah,
I think it should be us three. But then, like, I would be here
Yeah.
for your councils as well. See what you think. I can just foresee that having Sir Walter or all these any of these other people is going to be, we're not coming out with them, or they're going to compromise us by being pwned.
Turned against us even.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just like narratively telling your bodyguard, I'm going into danger now, so you can stay back and be safe.
Is that what he is to you, Eckhart?
No, that's what
Walter.
Valkyrie, yeah.
And Eckhart,
He's the shield, right? Like, I want him to protect my house while I'm not there. Cush it that way. To be honest, he's quite an old guy, right?
Older, yeah.
Mm.
He's still
Probably
got
better.
fight in him, but he's not, in his prime.
I'd rather have him like loyal and staunch, like protecting the people while I'm down here, than having him with me and leaving them without him. I'm just trying to think like who else. Who's Eckhart? Like, he's a Templar, right? Not a Templar, a Justiciar.
He's a cleric of the order.
The only reason
Different
I
sect than Yosef, but same kind of group concept.
thought we brought him along for the specific purpose of dealing with the darkness curse on this place. That was your enticement to him.
And that's right, because he was working with, or serving at least, the border guard liege.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so he's not like our house, so if he dies down here with us, then that's not a loss to us. And he'll be an advantage. So yeah, let's take him.
Yeah, and he'd be a
More
capable fighter.
house.
Perhaps not Yosef level strong, but he can hold his own, and he's got some tricks up his sleeve.
Yeah, I think taking any of those newly sworn soldiers is just giving them a good chance to die or flee. So I'd rather leave them.
Right. How much barricading do we actually have to remove? Because maybe while Yosef's resting, while Amon's resting, we can begin to remove some of the barricades.
Yeah, it's not a whole lot. It's nothing like official. It's mostly like furniture and stuff like that, like rotten desks and pieces of large stone that have fallen from walls that they basically just like piled up over the stairwell. So it would take between a couple people 20-30 minutes to like clear out the doorway, enough to like have it not be a hindrance.
Yeah, well, towards the allotted period that Amon has told us he requires, we'll prepare the way.
All right, yeah, you can set to moving and clearing all the debris piled up destroyed furniture and rubble from the pathway to clear it out. I'm assuming that you would inform Ammon of this so he could get rid of his magic mouth, so that's not a disturbance. I figured that you guys would be able to do that to ensure that there's no false alarms that have gone off. He would have mentioned that he had warded it, I'm sure.
Yeah, either way.
And then, there you go.
I was just going to say, either way, yeah, we'd definitely find out very quickly that it was warded.
And it won't be too much more time, before you can clear out the full pathway. The basement will loom ominously before you, bathed in total darkness. There's like no light at all that comes from it.
And I think gazing upon it, he would use that sight afforded to him, to the grace of the Savior, to look upon it and see if evil emanates from that portal itself.
Yeah, it would definitely. I forget. Does Divine Sense also count hollowed or desecrated ground or just creatures?
Yeah, it does. Hallowed and desecrated ground as well as Fey, undead, and
Demons and devils, I think, isn't
yeah, celestial, demonic. I think.
So I don't think there would be nearly enough distance to cover any creatures at this stage, but you do feel at the bottom of the stairwell, further down, like at the edge of the sense, this like strange buzzing sensation, not unlike the strange kind of like electric anxiety pulse that went through you during your dream. Um, as you feel like the tingling, that there's definitely, while it's not far enough to catch any creatures, the ground itself down there uh, seems to be bathed in unholy force.
Yes. Yeah, I think his jaw would tighten, as would his hand on his staff as he looks upon it, and he senses and some kind of nemesis below lurking, that he must prepare himself for a grim struggle indeed. And of course, the horrors of the dream have not entirely left him. That strange seething darkness that was somehow still full of colors, perhaps escaping that darkness, only to be pulled back in. You think of that hand. Now, the hand that came out of there, thinking back on the dream, was that like a human-shaped hand, or was it like just a hand of darkness?
Human-ish is probably the best way to describe it. Like it seemed to like writhe, like the darkness within it seemed to like twist, as if like itself alive, but the shape of the hand was mostly human.
Okay, as opposed to elvish, or I wouldn't have been able to tell.
I don't know that you would be able to know. It's hard to, I think, in a dream to like get that fine of detail taken in.
Yeah, and I think obviously, like, yeah, looking back into the dream, even now, it's starting to fade the specifics of it. But what he does know is, yeah, that he harbors this deep, disconcerting fear that he's going to be facing fallen disciple or something similar. And then he opens the portal.
Yeah, so I think as you're standing there at the top of the stairwell, the darkness, you're not sure if it's like a trick of your eyes or if it's like genuine, but it almost seems to like twist, like despite being pure black in the same way that like the blackness seemed to move in your dream. So perhaps it's just a trick of the eyes and a trick of the mind. But eventually, Ammon is able to be roused from his rest, having had enough time, to meditate, to recover his arcane energy, at least to some degree. And the three of you will make your descent down into the basement under the ruins. And I think we'll go ahead and call it right there for this time. And we'll see how that pans out next time.
Sweet.
Excellent.
Alrighty. That was fun. I'm going to go ahead and cut broadcast, but thanks to anybody who checked it out.